America's outstanding theater of thrills, the master of mystery and adventure, William N. Robeson.
There are many kinds of suspense, but the happiest suspense is the kind we share at this time of year with our children. The suspense which has its denouement next Wednesday morning. The suspense of what Santa Claus is bringing for Christmas. For the little girl in the upcoming story, however, there is no such suspense. All she wants for Christmas is a dog, and a dog she is certainly not going to get. To play this unhappy little girl, we have invited a most talented little girl to make her first appearance on radio. Already a star of TV and motion pictures, 7-year-old Rudy now adds another medium to the domain of her talents. Listen then as Evelyn Rudy stars in Dog Star, which begins in exactly 1 minute.
When the United States was still a young and growing nation, there came forth from all parts of the country idealists to create utopia. For example, there was John Humphrey Noyes, who dreamed up the Oneida community in New York in 1847. It was designed and greed. In order to keep the community alive, small manufacturing industries were started. By 1880, the community living plan had died, and the industries had grown to great proportion and nationwide reputation. Had backfired, his efforts provided a contribution to American industry. Another idealist who seemingly had in mind the health and happiness of Americans was... About 1855, Mr. Clubb got the idea that people would be healthier if they were vegetarians. He thought they'd be happier if they lived in octagon-shaped houses on octagon-shaped parcels of land in octagon-shaped cities. Unfortunately for Mr. Clubb, he decided to establish Octagonal City, the center of the Vegetarian Settlement Company, in a pretty dusty spot in Kansas. After one look at the hardships to be encountered on the barren plains, nearly every one of the subscribers to the vegetarian community went back to the non-vegetarian East Coast. One after another, communal living experiments bloomed, faded, and disappeared. There were the Shakers, the Separatists of Zoar, the Rapetite Harmonists, Brook Farm, and many others, all planned toward better living and better people. Dreamers of the American dream can't be judged merely on the basis of success or failure, for show people of the future what not to do. American men and women built the United States into a great nation because they conceived their ideas and tried them out. This is indeed part of the great American dream, a dream which has become a
And now, Dog Star, starring Evelyn Rudy. A tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Daddy, honest, Daddy, the only thing I want for Christmas is a dog. Even if it isn't exactly the kind Mike was, that's all I want.
Ray, please.
Sorry.
If she weren't such a tomboy, it'd be different. But can you imagine getting Julie a dollhouse or a painting set or a party dress?
I'm sorry, Anne. Dog.
Then you shop for her. I'm tired of roaming around like a zombie in every store in town. You find her presents.
If I can't have a dog again, I just don't care what I get.
Now listen, both of you. I like dogs just as much as you do. I love Mike, too. But Julie loves them too much. She hasn't eaten a decent meal since Mike got killed. And it's not going to happen again. We're not going to put her happiness at the mercy of another brainless pup and every idiot speeder in town.
It wasn't Mike's fault. It was my fault. I should have put him in the yard. It was my fault. But honest, I'd never let my pup out again if I could just have one.
Julie.
Honey, suppose I got a big bike, a 26, okay?
But, Daddy, I don't want a bike. I want a dog.
Julie, come back here. It's getting dark.
Ray, I said she could play with Timmy. Let her go.
Hey, Julie, what happened? Are you going to get a dog for Christmas? No. Hey, Julie, I got an idea. See, I asked, and we move Mike's doghouse over to my yard, and we can both play with him. How about that? Thanks, Timmy, but no, this isn't the same. No, I guess not. Hey, Julie, I got my flashlight with me. You know what? What? Let's go up to Palmer Canyon and see if any ducks have flown onto the pond this evening. I don't feel like it, Timmy. Honest. Oh, come on. We might even see a goose. But how do do the ducks find their way all the way down here from the north? Oh, it's something called instinct. What was that? Golly, I don't know. Sure was close. Sure was. Oh, it was a tree falling, I bet. Hey, here's the pond. Come on, Julie. I'm coming.
Oakdale Police, Lieutenant Spencer speaking.
Oh, this is Professor Goodwin at the observatory.
Oh, yes, Professor.
Lieutenant, for the past half hour, we've been tracking one of their later satellites. It landed about 3 minutes ago.
Huh?
We have a fix. It hit the Palmer Canyon area of Oakdale.
Yeah? You sure?
Positive. I'm leaving now. And, Lieutenant, I think you better get some men up there quick.
Sergeant, get 3 cars up to Palmer Canyon. Emergency. I call the off section for guard duty. And call the chief on the highway patrol. Call the mayor, too. Tell him a satellite landed in Palmer Canyon.
Well, I guess it's getting too late in the year for the ducks. Yes, we better start back home. What is that? What? I thought I heard a dog crying. I didn't. It is 2. There's a dog down there by the pond. Where's the flashlight? Here. A little white dog. Oh, his legs are hurt. He can hardly crawl, it looks like. Oh, he's bleeding. And he's wearing something all torn. Jimmy, somebody must have tortured him. Yeah, poor fella. Hey, his tail's wagging. He likes you, Julie. Oh, poor little thing. Timmy, tried to keep him. What'll your dad say? We'll hide him. They won't torture you anymore. They won't hurt you anymore. We'll hide you. Where will you? Like you said, we'll put Mike's old doghouse in your yard and take care of him there. Maybe when he's well, Daddy will let me keep him. Okay. Well, come on. Here. No, I'll carry him. Look, Timmy. What? He licked me. He licked my face.
Joe, you and Maury take the uphill side. And don't let anybody near the parachute unless for 2.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Okay, Professor, I guess that covers it.
Well, I'll sure be glad when the Air Force gets here. Just think where this thing has been.
Yeah. It looks like a metal beach ball with portholes. Hey, what's this, Professor? An oxygen for a midget?
Why, there was something in here. Bet. Then this got knocked off its head.
Yeah, it chewed its way out of its harness. Here, look.
Hey, we got to find it.
There's blood on the ground, Professor. It won't go far.
We have got to find it, Lieutenant. We've got to...
For a long, long time, women have figured in the affairs of men. Yes, even in that masculine-dominated activity called war. And not only since World War II. During the Civil War in the United States, the battlefront saw many women laboring as nurses and sanitary workers. Quite a few others disguised themselves as men, enlisted in the infantry, charged into battle until they were discovered to be women and were sent home to tend to their knitting. But by both sides. And when it came to spying, Mata Hari was a slouch compared to Emma Edmonds. Emma had originally prepared to become a missionary nurse in Africa. But when the Civil War broke out, she changed her plans and signed up as a Union Army nurse. After months of nursing and fighting at Bull Run and other battles, Emma Edmonds heard that General George McClellan was looking for a replacement for a Yankee spy who had been executed in Richmond. She volunteered for the job, suggesting that her gifts of mimicry and disguise, which she had used to entertain the soldiers, might be put to some use. After being interviewed by 7 generals, tested on her military knowledge and ability to ride and shoot, and proving that she could fool her closest friends with her effective disguises, Emma Edmonds was accepted as a Union spy. 11 times she risked her life crossing back and forth through the battle lines while gathering vital military information, which she reported to her commanding officer. During the dangerous missions, she successfully passed herself off as many different characters, both Negro and white, male and female. Although she was nearly discovered, she did her work undaunted. Between spying to nurse the sick and wounded. The story is one of hazard and adventure, a story of a woman who endangered her life that her country should live.
And now, starring Evelyn Rudy of Dog Star.
More coffee, Ray?
And late as it is. Imagine that satellite practically landing in our backyard. What an age. Well, I've got to get down to the office. I'll be back early to help with the tree. Goodbye, Julie.
Bye, Daddy.
Now, will you please take care of that thing for Julie we were talking about?
Julie, Timmy, come in. Hand me a knife, quick. What are you doing? Cutting him some meat, quick. Here. I was just looking at him. I got him a blanket like you said. How is he? Oh, he's asleep. Hey, here comes your mother. Give me the meat. Here, put it in your pocket. Hello, Mrs. Roberts.
Hello, Timmy. What are you two up to?
Nothing.
Here is
My
further word
breakfast.
on the satellite, which returned to Earth last night in Palmer Canyon. An overseas monitored report confirms the guess that there was a dog in the parachuted container.
Julie.
It is a small white husky similar to Laika, the ill-fated first space traveler. This one is called Chitka and wears its name on its collar. It was announced that it is trained to react to this name.
Julie, I was listening.
I'm sorry, Mommy. Can I go out?
You didn't finish your cereal. All right.
Julie, did you hear what he said? It's not the same dog. It sounds like it is. It does not. Now shut up. Okay, Julie. Here he is. Hi, Mike. We'll call him Mike. Look, he's opening his eyes. Give me the meat. Here, Mike. Oh, look, he won't eat. Pretty sick, Julie. Hey, let's see his collar. No. Hey, it's all funny letters, Julie. I can't read it. I'm going to take it off. Say his name, Julie. Mike. No, the one the radio said. No. We've got to know, Julie. I forget. No, you don't. You never forget anything. Chitka. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I won't let them take you back. I'm going to keep you anyway.
Chitka story. On this Christmas Eve, the little white dog has not yet been found, although he is thought to be injured. All veterinarians in the area have been alerted.
Well,
I'll return you now
that
to our
satellite really
Christmas
shook up
news.
this town. Cops all over the place looking for the pooch.
Dad, if we found him, if our country found him, would we have to send him back?
I'm just a small-town lawyer, honey. There are big shots straining their brains on that one. We'd have to stick to international law, of course.
It's all.
Now, don't be long.
I won't. Hi, Timmy. How is he? Well, I just looked at him, Julie. I think he's awful sick. Come on, then. Have you got the flash? Yeah. Here it is. He just lies there panting like. Oh, he's got to be all right. He's got to be. Oh, Mike. Oh, nice little dog. He's sick, Timmy. Yeah, he sure is. Oh, Mike, don't die. Please don't die. Give me the blanket, Timmy. What are you going to do? Come on, Mike. Come on, nice little dog. But they all know about him. I heard it on the radio. I have to. I can't let him die.
The Republic of the Philippines has been described as the most luxuriant group of tropical islands in the world. It has fertile coastal plains and valleys, rich forests, and mineral-laden mountains. The archipelago contains more than 7,000 islands, and most of the population is concentrated on 11 of them. Ownership of land is one of the primary symbols of social position, since the typical Filipino is a farmer whose roots are deep in the soil he tills. Unlike our farmers, who's wholly on their farm, the Filipino taos, or farmers, live in small settlements or barrios and walk to work in the nearby fields. The home has 1 or 2 rooms and is made of bamboo and woven palm leaves. It is set on bamboo posts about 4 to 6 feet above the ground. This elevation not only keeps the house dry during the rainy season, but also provides shelter for the family animals. The Filipino family is closely knit and is built on a strong foundation of understanding between parent and children. An interesting note, is the fact that the woman almost always handles the family finances. Since their inception as a democratic nation, the Republic of the Philippines has continued to grow in stature as an active member of the international community.
And now, starring Evelyn Rudy, Act 3 of Daughter.
Somebody will give us a ride. They've got to. Please stop this one. Please stop.
Where you going?
Central Avenue, sir. Anywhere on Central.
Okay, hop in. What do you get there, kid?
My dog?
He shed any of that fur?
No, sir.
Central Avenue, eh? What are you going down there for on Christmas Eve? A short beer, huh?
No, sir. A vet. I mean...
A vet? Hey, that dog's hurt. Hey, look, he's bleeding from the mouth. Okay, kid, out.
Oh, mister, can't you please take us...
Now, listen, these are no seat covers. Out.
Oh, Mike. Stay alive just 5 minutes. That'll make you well. Just 5 minutes. There's a light there. Somebody's home. They've got to...
I'm awfully sorry. We're closed. Oh, I see, honey. Yes. Doctor.
Coming. And what seems to be the trouble, little girl?
Robert. And this is Mike, and I'm afraid he'll die.
Oh, now isn't that too... say, what kind of a dog is that, Julie?
A sort of a husky.
Yeah? Where'd you get him?
My dad got him for me. And tonight a car hit him and...
Yeah? Martha, hand me that police circular.
Here you are, Doctor.
We'll just put him on the operating table. Chit-chat? Call the police, Martha.
Right.
Then I want you to take its blood pressure while I get a sample of blood. And, let's see, just call the Air Force Base and ask them to send a flight surgeon down here.
Yes, sir.
Just tell them to hurry. I'm putting him away. I'm sorry, Julie.
Putting him away?
He's paralyzed, Julie. He couldn't run and play or do anything you'd want him to, even if they'd let you keep him.
But I take care of him anyway, Doctor. I bring him his food and take care of him. Don't call them. Don't kill him. Give him back.
Honey, it's no use. He'd just suffer. You wouldn't want that.
Oh, Mike, nice. See, Doctor, he licked me. He'll get better.
No, he won't, Julie. You wait in the hall, and I'll ask the police to take you home.
Oh, Mike.
Oakdale Police. Yes, ma'am? No kidding. Yeah, well, thank you, ma'am. Hey, Scoop, you want to get that AP job in New York? Here's your chance. That pooch just turned up at the Parks Dog and Cat Hospital.
Holy cow. Thanks, Sarge. That is right, operator. I want embassy. I don't care what time they tell you is in Washington. Tell them he's about Chitka. Chitka. Tell them he's collect.
Central Intelligence is in Oakdale. Merry Christmas, Chief. The dog turned up. Yeah, some kid had it. That's right, little... Name of Julie Roberts, 354 Parkdale Terrace, Oakdale. Yeah, I'm sober.
A little girl.
Что случилось, Читка? Это другой вопрос, американский выходка. Читка — советская собака. Американский держание померно. Это советский работник.
Julie, here's the present from your mother and me.
A bike. A big...
You may need it to outrun the reporters.
It's just wonderful.
But, it isn't a dog.
No.
Well, your mother and I were talking, and I think, yes? Washington? Who? And get me a drink.
Before breakfast? What is
Get me a drink. Yes? Yeah. This is her father. Oh, sir, I can't believe... A crate? No, sir, not yet. Yes, sir, we'll be expecting it. Oh, thank you, sir. And a very Merry Christmas to you.
Ray, what's wrong? You're white as a sheet.
Anna, give me that drink.
Dad, what's the Air Force car doing outside? Look, they're bringing a box up the wall.
When this room's a mess.
Yes? Major?
Merry Christmas, sir. Is this...
Yeah, yes.
Did the White House call, sir?
Yes.
Okay, open it up, Sergeant.
It's a puppy. A little white puppy.
It's for you, Julie. If your folks don't mind.
They don't.
Major...
No, ma'am. I have a little girl to get back to myself. Merry Christmas, folks.
Ray, who was that on the phone?
And when I tell you, you'll never believe me. You'll never believe me.
Suspense, in which Evelyn Rudy's production of Dog Star by Michael Frost. Supporting Evelyn Rudy and Dog Star were Shirley Mitchell, Dick.
Hand me that, please. Thank you. Now, let's see. Survey, survive, Susanna, suspect. Here we are. Suspense, meaning held in doubt, expressing uncertain, undecided, or insecure. State of anxious expectation or waiting for information, such as to keep one in suspense, therefore delay acquainting him with what he is eager to know. Suspense. An hour of suspense now, a full 60 minutes at this time, and with the distinguished actor Robert Montgomery as your host. Tonight our star is Howard Duff, famous wherever radio is heard as Sam Spade, detective. And as Spade, he will appear in The Candy Tooth, a suspense play produced, edited, and directed by William Spear. This is Robert Montgomery. My pleasure and privilege it is to be here during this hour each week as a sort of guide, philosopher, and fiend, an accessory before and after the facts of crime and punishment, which calculatedly fill our minutes with suspense. This evening, before we chat a little about the private life of America's favorite private eye, let me, on behalf of Mr. Spear and all of us, thank you sincerely for your wonderful letters and telegrams, expression and interest in this new full-hour presentation. It's wonderful fun to have 60 minutes to play with in radio drama. In our new double-strength, king-size format, we plan to bring you radio plays based on complete novels and on theatrical productions and pictures. Many of the best writers of literature, James M. Cain, Dashiell Hammett, Raymond Chandler, Graham Greene, Eric Ambler, and Agatha Christie, have been happiest with a more spacious canvas upon which to display their characters of passion and purpose. With a full hour for our theater of thrills, we can give these authors a full stage on which to have their people play out their lusts and desires, their temptations and frustrations, their frantic fears and villainous triumphs, their descent into black and terror-laden bewilderment. Sometimes we find ourselves locked in the tortured brain of the scheming criminal. At other times, we know the dread of the hunted and hapless victim. The basic ingredient of suspense is not mechanical, not the detectival piecing out of fingerprints and convenient clues, but always the basic ingredient is people. For people give us emotion, and emotion marks the high drama that cold logic can never achieve. Nowhere will you find stranger people, motives, and situations than those that pass through the door of a little office in San Francisco's Post Street. The lettering on the door reads, Samuel Spade, Private Investigations. Once it read Spade and Archer, before Miles Archer stopped a bullet and plunged Sam Spade into the greatest detective adventure of modern times, the search for the Maltese Falcon. It was literally a shot heard round the world, for it brought into prominence the name of Dashiell Hammett and the so-called hard-boiled school of crime detection. Since then, the fictional private eye has become a national institution. But Sam Spade still rules the roost. In book sales and motion pictures, the Maltese Falcon has been filmed 4 times now. And now on the air, every Sunday night, in The Adventures of Sam Spade, starring Howard Duff and produced by our very own Bill Spear. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce to our suspense audience now a young star from my home lot, Universal International, in the role with which he has become so closely identified that most of his fan mail is addressed to Sam Spade. Howard Duff.
Thanks, Bob. The record right now is saying that any checks I may sign with the name Sam Spade will be accepted at your own risk.
The detective business has been pretty good lately, I hear. How much did Sam make during 1947?
Effie would know. But no matter how much it was, it won't change Sam. He'll still do business at the same old stand in a rickety office building on Post Street where the elevator seldom ever works and the janitor never ever works.
As a matter of fact, Philip Marlowe pants this morning and did the Spade work on Spade myself.
Hmm?
Don't stop me if I'm wrong, but here are some of the facts. F-A-X, facts. The way I dug them up. Age? Nobody talked. History? Mysterious, but was probably a Pinkerton man to start with. Height? 6 feet and a small chunk. Weight? Enough muscle to go with his height. Hair? Dim-out blonde. Eyes? Yellow-gray. Unmarried. Lives alone in a small furnished apartment within walking distance of his office. Is economical to the point of, never takes a cab where streetcars can get, and has been known to walk where they can't get. Secretary, Effie Perrine. The only person who really knows what makes Sam tick when he wants her to. Otherwise, he's a lonely man who trusts no one, lives alone, and loves alone, and expects others to like it. Have I left anything out?
Nothing you left out, Bob. Something you put in. It's not true that I don't trust anybody. I trust everybody. All my clients are honest until I prove them otherwise.
Maybe that's what kept you in the private eye business all these years.
That and the strong hatred that I have.
Hatred?
Yeah, for time clocks and the hours between 9 and 5. That's why I went into business for myself. It keeps me there.
Then you regard it as a business, Sam, and not as an adventure. Hmm?
Well, when you break an arm in an adventure, the cost of setting it is not tax deductible. In a business, it is.
Yes, I see. What cases have you had? And do you think all private dicks are clever?
Well, I've had so many cases I can't remember them all. Once knew an operative who, while looking for pickpockets at Santa Anita Racetrack, had his wallet stolen. He later became a lieutenant of detectives in Glendale.
Sam, tell me, what was the most surprising thing that ever happened to you?
The thing that ever happened to me was in 1936 in Washington, D.C. I met a young lady on a bus who did not remark that my work must be very interesting.
Well, that's very interesting.
Thanks a lot. But I guess my most exciting caper since the Maltese Falcon was the hugger-mugger over the candy tooth. Usually when I wind a caper, I call Effie just to let her know I'm okay before I hustle down to the office to dictate my report to the client. But this time it was 4:30 in the morning before I could get to a phone. The reason was that I was in jail.
Sam Spade Detective Agency.
Wake up, Angel. You're home in bed, not at the office.
Huh? Sam, is that you saying?
Mm-hmm.
What time is it?
4:30 in the morning.
Are you up already?
Effie, pull yourself together. Get dressed. Hustle down to the city jail.
Sam, what happened?
Well, that's what I got to get on the record now while I'm still alive to do it. Grab a taxi and hustle on down. Bring a book, pencils, the encyclopedia that has the letter K in it, and any old $20,000 you got laying around.
Sam, where am I going to get pencils at this hour? Oh, Sam. Sam, I hurried just as fast as I could. There was no taxi around. What are you doing in jail?
My apartment's being redecorated. Did you bring your book?
Well, of course I did. And pencils, too. But you're here on a murder charge, Sam. Whatever could have happened
Take it down,
to you?
Effie.
But, Sam, what did
The
you do?
San Francisco Homicide Bureau. Attention, Detective Lieutenant Dundee. Date, fill it in. I'm Samuel Spade, license number 1375596. Subject, the Candy Tooth Caper. Dear Dundee, I don't know all the answers, not yet. What I do know is going down on paper while I'm still alive to get it there.
Oh, Sam.
The scenario runs something like this. This morning, a telegram came to my office. It was addressed to Samuel Spade, Esquire, and it was signed Casper Gutman. Gutman, the fat man. So far as I knew, Dundee, when you closed your books on the Maltese Falcon capers 7 years ago, Gutman was entered as dead. First, I thought the telegram was somebody's idea of a joke. But when I read it through the second time, I knew it was no joke. There's nobody else who thinks or talks or writes like Casper Gutman.
My dear Mr. Spade, you will no doubt receive with mixed emotions the news of my imminent reappearance in the city of the Golden Gate. Hence the companion dispatch of a telegraphic draft of $1,000, which you are free to convert into coin of the realm. This trifling sum, sir, is merely a token of my esteem for a man of many resources and nice judgment. And for it I do not require any specific service. However, if you feel so disposed, sir, you are free to accept my considered advice in the matter of an invidious pair of rogues. To wit, one Lawrence Laverne, DDS, and or Hope Laverne, whose charms and aliases are far too myriad to enumerate in necessarily abbreviated communication. Should either or both of these persons approach you, beware the hidden tooth. Believe me, sir, they are untruthful, unreliable, and totally devoid of all moral sensibility. I count upon you to make no commitments to them or anyone else until you have heard my proposition. This I hope to lay before you when I arrive in San Francisco this very evening. Dear Joe, send regards. I remain your obedient servant, Casper Gutman.
Casper Gutman, the fat man. I know, Dundee, you figured I didn't get hurt much the last time I tangled with Gutman over the Maltese Falcon. But that's because you didn't know Bridget O'Shaughnessy as well as I did. As well or as warmly. Well, I figured if Gutman was still in the land of the living, let him come. This time I wasn't going to get hurt in any way. There couldn't be two Bridgets. Nevertheless, I ate a can of spinach, which I found on Effie's desk. Then I sat down again, facing the door. Nothing much happened for almost 10 minutes. I was still trying to dig the meaning out of Gutman's double dog, and I'd gotten about as far as his warning about a hidden tooth when Effie ushered a man into my office.
Mr. Spade. Well, I must say that you are indeed a pleasant surprise, but pleasant.
You've said it. What can I do for you?
My name is Laverne. Lawrence Laverne.
How do you do?
I pass in details and plunge right into the problem. Oh, dear. At the Hotel Royal George, there is a mildewed creature, but mildewed, registered as Mr. Herman Julius. Oh, a really frightful person.
Very frightful, huh?
Oh, the kiss of death department. The only thing about this creature that has any charm is the four-toothed lower bridge in his right jaw. Now, Mr. Spade, I want you to get that bridge for me.
I'm sorry. It sounds as though you're saying I want you to get that bridge for me.
Precisely.
Mm-hmm. Why?
Because he refuses to pay me for it.
You're a dentist?
I prefer to regard myself as a dentist sculpturer. I created this bridge for Mr. Julius with infinite pains. And now he refuses to pay me. I ask payment, and he accuses me of acting without charm.
Mr. Julius wouldn't happen to be a very large, fat man?
Oh, contraire. Skin and bones. Well, Mr. Spade?
I'm afraid you come to the wrong man, Mr. Laverne. What you want is a lawyer to sue him.
Sue him? Months of legal wrangling? Oh, no. Oh, no. I intend to be vindictive about this. I am by nature a very gracious and charming person. But now let him beware. I shall have that bridge from Herman Julius, even if you must knock him down and wrench it from his jaw.
You tried knocking him down yourself?
Oh, I could never even bring myself to perform extraction. I always send those patients to less sensitive dentists.
Yeah, well, I'm afraid you'll have to find yourself a less sensitive private detective.
Oh, dear. Well, Mr. Spade, what would you advise me to do?
Mr. Laverne, I would advise you to get out of California before Walt Disney sees you.
Well, good day, sir. I would like very much to have you in my chair someday. My...
Beware the hidden truth.
Hello.
Hello. Please sit down, Miss...
Thank you. Laverne.
Hope Laverne.
Miss Laverne?
Yes.
What can I do for you?
Well, I'm looking for my brother.
Missing?
Well, yes and no. I mean, he's been gone since yesterday, and I'm terribly afraid he'll get into trouble.
Oh? What kind of trouble?
Well, you see, it just isn't easy for me to talk about this, Mr. Spade.
Well, now, Miss Laverne, suppose you just lean back in that chair, close your eyes, and...
Yes, thank you. Yes, it's easier like this.
I thought you'd like.
My brother's name is Lawrence. He's a man of 52. He's not well. I mean, he gets spells, and he acts peculiarly. He suffered a nervous breakdown some years ago, and he spent most of his life in sanitariums.
Where are you from, Miss Laverne?
Kansas City. During the past year, Larry was in a rest home in Palo Alto, and I arrived 2 days ago to take him home. Yesterday morning, Well, I don't know how it happened, but he's gone.
These spells you mentioned, what are they like?
Oh, well, he assumes different personalities. His favorite seems to be that of a dentist. He becomes obsessed with the thought that he's done some work, a bridge or something, for someone who refuses to pay him. He'll walk up to a perfect stranger and create a scene. Said a few times, nothing serious, public nuisance. Mr. Spade, he'll be put away if he's arrested once more.
I see, and you want me to look for him.
Then he hasn't been here?
Why'd you think he'd come here?
Oh, that's another one of his tactics. He goes to a private detective, hires him to either follow a man or get back the work he thinks he's done. Dental work, you know.
But what made you think he'd come to me?
Oh, well, not you, particularly. Ever since yesterday, I've tried almost every private detective in San Francisco. No one has seen him.
Who'd you talk to?
I beg your pardon?
These private detectives, who'd you see?
Oh, well, there was a man named Graham and one named Marlowe, Philip Marlowe.
Excuse me. Would you like a drink?
No.
Marlowe speaking.
Spade, Phil.
Hiya, Sam.
Phil, you got a rumble on a missing brother named Larry Laverne?
Yeah. Gal was in early this morning.
Hmm?
Brother's some kind of a screwball.
You meet him?
No, hasn't been around yet.
Thanks, Phil. See you.
Why did you do that, Mr. Spade?
It's doing things like that have kept me alive and in business all these years. That was Marlowe. Your brother hasn't been to him.
I told you that.
But your brother has been here.
When?
A few minutes before you came in. Can't see how you missed him.
What did he tell you, Mr. Spade?
Pretty much as you...
Work. And some man owing him money.
Yeah, some man named Julius. Herman Julius, he said. You know him?
I never heard of him. It's probably another figment of Larry's imagination. Mr. Spade, I'm terribly worried about Larry.
I got that impression.
Will you try to find him for me?
Can you give me any idea where I might start looking?
Well, I think I know how Larry's mind works when he's in the midst of one of these spells, and if you find this Mr. Julius, you'll probably find Larry close by.
So you want me to find Mr. Julius first?
Oh, well, I only thought it would be simpler checking on this Mr. Julius' movements than on Larry's unpredictable whims, you see. Don't you think that makes good sense, Mr. Spade?
Miss Laverne told me she was staying at the Pickwick Arms, and I said I would call her if I found her brother, and she said, thank you very much, and I said, it's nothing, just part of the day's routine, and then she kissed me and left. After lunch, I strolled over to the Royal George Hotel. Duke, the housekeeper, gave me a rundown on Mr. Julius, a quiet, nervous little man who'd sealed himself up in his room for 2 days, eating out of room service. I didn't have any trouble finding the hacky who'd driven him away when he checked out. He gave me the address, and 20 minutes later, I was mounting the front steps of a greasy rooming house on Sacramento Street. I twisted the rusty bell on the door, and a long, sharp nose that could only belong to a landlady stabbed out at me.
What you want?
I'm looking for a man named Herman Julius.
Don't have no Julius here.
Well, maybe he gave some other name. A little skinny guy with a foreign accent.
You the Lord?
Take me to his room.
Now, wait a minute. Now. Well, step inside. Up the stairs.
Home?
Never seen him go out. Ain't but one door. Watch that step second from the top. It's busted. Don't want no lawsuits.
It's the third.
Said he was a refuge. And Nazis was after him. Another fight. Never knew he was in a tangle with the Lord. Smell that?
Certainly do.
Cooking in the rooms. I got a rule, too. Sneaking electric plates, they do. Runs up the bills. Buzzards. There's his room. Mr. Julius! Mr. Julius! Mr. Julius, you second there? They drink, some of them. Then they don't cook in their rooms. They drink. Get DT, some of them. Oh, go on in and get him. I don't want no part of it. Oh, they say.
I didn't see who it was right away. His face was the color and consistency of crushed strawberries. I helped him up and over to the wash basin room. With his face washed, he looked a little better, but he still looked like Larry Laverne.
Oh, am I ever glad to see you? I thought it was them coming back to kill me.
Did you find Julius?
No. He got away, the wretch, down the fire escape as I came in.
Who did this to you, a big fat man?
To tell the honest truth, Mr. Spade, I never even got a good look at him. He was all over me before I...
Julius? What's in his bridge work?
Oh, I'll tell you everything, but please, first, let's get out of this horrid room. Oh, it smells like cabbage.
Larry Laverne was tougher than he looked. After the going over he'd gotten, you or I would have been hospital-bound, Dundee. But he did a late take. We were on the way back to his hotel, walking toward Market, when he crumpled in the middle like a sack of flour. I grabbed him and held him upright, looked wildly around for somewhere to park him. We were standing in front of a newsreel theater. I bought 2 tickets and piloted him inside. We sat down. I undid his clutch on my arm and concentrated on the screen. The subject that followed the football game was some big Oriental celebration somewhere in India or someplace. A very fancy parade with white elephants.
Candy,
large,
Ceylon,
all the rest
the
of
famed white elephants of the Orient get their annual airing as crowds of devout Buddhists gather to do homage to some of the strangest relics in the modern world. Here in Kandy, the Mecca of the Buddhist religion, pilgrims gather from near and far. Indian Rajas, Burmese officials, and Chinese dignitaries in ceremonial dress prostrate themselves before the jeweled casket containing the most sacred object of the Buddhist world, legendary relic of Buddha himself. The Orient goes wild in jubilant celebration. Temple dancers of Kandy perform for the crowned heads of the Orient.
Take me out of here. I can't stand it, Uncle Man. I tell you, stark-raving man.
Easy, you're annoying the customers.
You brought me in here on purpose. You're trying to drive me crazy, but crazy.
Easy.
Listen to me.
2 men holding up the sacred relic are high priests.
If that man says that one word, Candy, just once more, I won't be responsible. I tell you, I won't be responsible.
All right, Larry.
Take me out of here.
But the end. You got me doing it.
An
Come on, let's get out of
impressive
here.
ceremony indeed.
I promise you, Mr. Spade, all I need is just one night in you, man.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't even dared to take 40 winks since I arrived in this town for fear those murder me in my bed.
Yeah, I know. It's tough. Sit down.
So this is your apartment?
That's what I laughingly call it. Living room, bedroom, icebox. Here, have a drink. Me too.
Oh, thanks. Oh, did I ever need that?
Help yourself to the bottle.
I don't touch alcohol as a rule, but after what I've been through...
Well, now, drink all you like. You deserve it.
Oh, thank you. Well, I hardly know where to begin. It's also strange. And there I was in Lisbon, Mr. Spade, the only English-speaking dentist worthy of the name in the entire diplomatic colony. Well, you must have read in the papers about Dom Constantine violated. It was the scandal of the season. Oh, it's so horrible, Mr. Spade. I just can't talk about it.
Try a little more of this. Settles the nerves.
Oh, I just don't know how I can ever thank you. Ever since I hit this berg, I've been feeling like the forgotten... Pardon, man.
Yeah, you were saying something about a tomb being broken into. In Portugal, this was?
Yes. Well, you know, the draft board just took one look at me. And...
I know what you mean.
So I just stayed on in Lisbon. And, well, you know how people gossip, having patients of all nationalities and all that.
Yeah, I get it. Between the Nazis and the Allies, you were quite a social line.
Oh, now, wait a minute. Don't get the idea I was a spy. Oh, no. But sometimes people had things that could be hidden in a hollow tooth, and like that, bridge work, you know? I think I told you I'm not so much a dentist as a dental artist.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that fat Mr. Gutman brought me this tooth, you see.
Gutman?
Yes, Mr. G and that Joel Cairo person that was with him. Well, they brought me this tooth. Oh, a horrid yellow old thing, practically a fang. They wanted to put in Mr. Julius' fridge. Paid me £1,000, can you imagine? Then when I learned what they had done, well, it made me positively ill. This practically sacred old tomb in the cathedral, they'd broken in and literally torn out a piece of his jawbone.
Whose?
Why, Dom Constantino's.
And who's Dom Constantino?
Oh, the Portuguese viceroy. It didn't hurt him any. He's been dead 500 years if he's dead a day. Oh, dear. I'm as tight as a tick. This liquor is getting to me.
And it was. I thought I overplayed the bourbon. Half a bottle later, he passed out. I flopped on the sofa and tried to get some sleep for myself, but my dreams kept getting in the way. I had newsreel dreams in Technicolor. I dreamed that a white elephant with a face like Casper Gutman was leading a parade down Market Street. The howdah that was strapped to his back looked like a dentist chair. Herman Julius was sitting in it, but this face seemed to be blanked out. Joel Cairo, wearing a surgeon's gown and a turban, was drilling Julius's tooth. The crowds were throwing diamonds and rubies from the peanut bags they were carrying, and Gutman vacuumed them up with his trunk. That was when the bells started ringing in the Buddhist temple that had been built on top of the Mark Hopkins. Yeah.
Mr. Spade.
Yeah?
Mr. Spade, I need your help.
Who's this?
Hope Laverne, please, Mr. Spade. I'm terrified.
Where are you?
I'm in a drugstore, 5th and Mission.
Near the bus depot?
Yes, please, come at once, Mr. Spade.
Well, can't you come here?
I can't. I don't dare go into the street.
All right, wait there. I'm on my way. I took a quick gander at Laverne, saw he was still out cold, slipped into my topcoat, and left the apartment. I figured it would take me 11 minutes to hustle over to 5th and Mission. I never got any further than 50 yards from the front of my building. I sensed him behind me, wheeled suddenly, bumped him into a doorway, held the thumbs of his hands gripped tightly in my fist. Stand still or I'll tear him off.
Let go. I'll kill you.
Don't move and it won't hurt.
You filthy beast.
The boy finally, and I heard the crack of his left thumb breaking. He swallowed a scream, dashed out into the deserted street. I went after him, turned into the alley, and caught the butt of a gun behind my right ear. I don't know how long I was out, but I do know I came to at least 3 hours too soon. I needed much more rest. I opened my eyes, steadied a swaying ceiling, and then I heard his voice.
Well, sir, this is indeed a jolly reunion.
It couldn't be, but it was. Casper Gutman, the fat man of the Maltese Falcon caper. Looking at the unholy trio there in the room, Joel Cairo, the little Levantine, still as oily and smiling as ever and still fragrant. Marvin, a sun white-faced, hollow-eyed youth as near Wilmer's double as anyone will ever see. And Gutman, spruce as ever in his black cutaway coat, black vest, and gray-striped trousers. You'd have thought nothing had happened since then, not even the war. The grayness at Cairo's temples only made his baby face look more babyish. And about Gutman, nothing was different except his watch chain. A curious jewel-encrusted ornament dangled from it, shaped like a claw.
You seem surprised to see me, sir. And no wonder. It's always disconcerting to encounter a ghost, especially such a substantial ghost. A lot of water has gone under the bridge since last we met, eh?
Under the bridge?
Yes, which brings us to the subject at hand, the bridge.
My head aches. What about the bridge?
First, we'll talk of it. After all, this is quite an occasion, sir. Reunion of old friends, eh, Mr. Spade?
Yeah. Tell me, did you ever find the Falcon? If you'll excuse the expression.
Your eyes are resting on all that remains of that fabulous bird, sir.
On his watch chain. All that remains of the Maltese Falcon.
Well, mark you, sir, what part of it survived. The claw. You believe in omens?
Right now, I'm ready to believe almost anything.
Indeed, sir. Well, no need for dissembling. We're old and wise, I trust, in the Falcon. But suffice it to say, the unsavory and object which the police dredged up from San Francisco Bay and identified as myself was some other poor soul. I am happy to say, remembered the debt of gratitude he owed me, and at the last moment agreed to be a party to the very necessary little deception. That is, since for the other killings, he might as well confess to murdering me. Did so in exchange for my agreement to take care of his family in a financial way. An investment, by the way, which has paid rich dividends.
How's that?
Oh, indeed. Oh, well, thanks. I have Marvin, Wilmer's younger brother.
I thought I noticed it.
Shut up! Oh, yes, poor Wilmer. He was like a son to me, like a son.
No, it didn't stop.
I detest killing Mr. Spade. I caution mere boy.
You better caution this punk or he won't last to take any raps for you.
Marvin.
That dirty shamus lays another hand on me.
No, Marvin. Go, take Marvin into the other room. Explain to him that Mr. Spade and I are very old friends.
Marvin,
and now, no nonsense, you two now.
I'll kill him, Marvin. Esther would be angry.
hot-headed, runs in that family.
Yeah. Well, let's have it, Gutman. What are you after this time?
My dear boy, it's true I had Marvin check up on you, but only because of your association with Miss Laverne. Oh, but no matter now. I'm weary of the chase. All the way from Candy, What did the girl tell you?
She asked me to find her a dentist named Laverne.
You believed her story?
No.
Most unscrupulous woman. No regard for truth whatsoever. Her true motive? Merely to make friends because of her association with Kemidov. Aye, the Russian hand again, Mr. Spade.
Kemidov? Did I ever meet Kemidov?
You'd hardly forget if you had. In short, here is my proposition. Another $1,000, coin of the realm, sir, for which you will refund whatever money Miss Laverne gave you and send her packing.
The bidding starts at $10,000.
Ooh, you drive a hard bargain, Mr. Spade. Very well. I'll meet your terms.
I told you the bidding starts there.
And where does it stop?
Half of whatever the caper nets you. I deliver Julius, you do the rest.
Well, between you and me, Mr. Spade, I noticed that was. The Falcon pretty well wiped me out financially. Considering the time and money I've already invested in trying to track down the weasel Julius.
What's in,
And if I don't choose to tell you?
Then it's no dice. Think it over, Gutman. Either I'm in all the way for half, or I deliver this to the other outfit.
And that is your final dictum, sir?
Take it or leave it. Either you're in or you're out.
Good night, Mr. Spade. I'd call me on the telephone when you reach your diggings and tell me that you've changed your mind. No hard
The fog was clearing, and only a white wisps of it were clinging to Twin Peaks when I walked home that morning. It was too late to worry about Hope. Or did she phone for Gutman to decoy me out so that I started walking faster? As I climbed the stairs to my oven on the landing, and the slot of light that stabbed out from it showed me it was my door. The light came to see who it was at first, only that it was not Larry Laverne. I took the last flight 4 steps at a time.
Hello, Sam.
Dundee, what's happened?
Come in and see self.
Well, I saw for myself. I wish somebody else had seen for me. He sat on my bedroom floor. His eyes were wide open, and he had a crooked grin on his face. A very crooked grin. Whoever had killed his jaw out of place.
I'm not saying you killed him, Sam. I'm only asking you who did.
Don't be a child. No statement.
What was he doing here? Who is he?
The name he gave was up here because he was afraid to go home.
Afraid of who?
A man named Casper Gutman.
What? Quit stalling, Sam. Gutman's dead and you know it.
You bury him, Dundee?
Well, I believe you mean it.
Where Gutman's concerned, it doesn't pay to clown.
What's he after now?
The bridge work out of a man's mouth. His name is Julius.
What's in this Julius bridge work? Maltese?
Something like that.
I'm sorry, Sam. That's not good enough. I'll have to take you in.
So you took me and you booked me. Bail was set at $20,000. You saw to that. You figure there's only one operator who'd put up that kind of money to spring me, and that's Casper. Period. End of plot, at least, of sob story.
But Sam, what is in Herman Julius's bridge work?
Laverne told me it was a tooth Gutman stole out of a skeleton in an old Portuguese catacomb.
What's valuable about that?
I don't know.
Could be a jewel inside of it?
No, it's not kind of game. Besides, the thing that made poor Laverne blow his top in that newsreel theater was something more. Where's that encyclopedia? Did you bring it?
Oh, yes, I did, Sam. Yes, I did. Wasn't I smart?
Look it up.
Look what up?
Candy with a K.
Oh. K, car, can. Oh, here it is. Candy. City. Capital of Central Province of Ceylon, located near the center of...
Spare me the geography.
Well, the railroads from Colombo. Waterfalls and stuff.
Yeah.
The city surrounds an artificial lake and is sacred to Buddhists for its temple of Naligawa, which enshrines the tooth of Buddha brought, according to legend...
What? Let me see that.
Well?
Let me see, It's sacred to Buddhists for its temple of Naligawa, which enshrines it. Effie.
What's the matter, Sam?
The tooth of Buddha.
Sam, you don't think that's what's in Herman Julius?
If it was, Gutman would be after him.
But how did he get to Portugal?
If it did, Gutman's the man that...
Are you sure of that?
No. The only thing I am sure of is this. When the Maltese Falcon laid like a vultures, and they're all circling right around my head.
Well, cheer up, Sam. You won't be in jail long. I'll bring you in it.
Angel.
No, devil's food.
In tonight's full hour of suspense, Howard Dower appears as Sam Spade, with Joseph Kearns as Casper Gutman's production of The Candy Tooth. Tonight's study in Suspense. In just a moment, we will return with the second half of The Candy Tooth. This is CBS, Columbia Broadcasting System. And now, back to our Hollywood soundstage and Robert Montgomery. At the point at which we interrupted Sam Spade's narrative just now, things were at a pretty pass.
A pretty pass indeed.
A pretty pass. Sam wound up with the body of the dentist, Larry Laverne, in his apartment. The girl, Hope, waiting for him in the bus station. Casper Gutman, the fat man, waiting for an answer to his ultimatum. Spade produced the tooth, or else.
Me in city prison under $20,000 bail, and the fabulous Candy Tooth, still chumping on 2-bit hamburgers and the bridge work of a very elusive man named Herman Julius.
Yes. And?
Well, after I dictated my report to Effie on what happened, she left, and I laid down to think. Lieutenant Dundee and I had agreed that I should spend the night on the pokey. He figured that the 20G bail would draw only much moolah to spring me, Casper Gutman. And in the a.m., the turnkey unlocked the door of my cell. I followed desk. The $20,000 were there, but no sign of factor, benefactress, or Samaritan of any type. The bond was in my name. I signed my lease and walked out. Across the street was parked a long limousine with the curtains drawn. I started for it when a voice at my elbow.
George Spencer Spade.
See.
I'm Don Constantino de Braganza. You have put up the $20,000.
Is that so? Thank you. Now, why?
Desire service. My card, Senor.
Dom Constantino. Wait a minute.
Yes, you seem to know the name, eh?
Yeah. For a guy who's dead 500 years, you don't look too bad.
Oh, thank you. Of course, to my illustrious ancestor, Dom Constantino, the first Portuguese viceroy of India. It had been dead since the 16th century. It's on his behalf I speak to you now.
What can I do for him?
Restore the tooth, which was rangeable ghouls who violated his tomb in Lisboa.
You think they're in San Francisco?
Let us not be naive, Senor. The contemptible little dentist Laverne was killed in the apartment. Therefore, you must know the whereabouts of the other ghouls.
I know some of those, Senor. You'll have to be more specific.
I refer to a fat pig named C. Gutman, to a camel named J. Cairo, and most especially to a woman of the female sperm.
You want them or the tooth?
Both, not one without the other.
No, it'll take a little time. They haven't got the tooth.
You know where it is?
In the bridge work of a man.
Oh, that then explains the dentist and the diabolical manner which they employed in out of Lisboa.
Now, you go on home and you see, huh?
Senor, I respect your judgment.
Thank you.
And for the retainer, may consider the $20,000 bond as due.
Wow.
Adios, senor.
Adios. Be careful crossing streets.
Adios.
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 Adios, Tom Constantino.
Adios.
Yeah, adios.
Adios.
Spade. Sam, get in.
You, got a hack license, Miss Laverne?
Oh, please don't, Sam. I know this car's ridiculous, but I don't dare use taxis or be seen on the street.
What happened last night when you called me from the bus station in such a panic?
Why didn't you come?
I went to see the...
Dog Gutman? Did he mention me?
Out of the apartment so that somebody could get in and kill Laverne.
Oh.
Then why did you call?
Because I found Herman Julius. And I'm driving you there now.
That? She sat very close to me. But we didn't do any talking after that. I was vaguely aware that we were driving across to Oakland, and a few minutes later we pulled up in front of an apartment building. We took the elevator up to the 9th floor.
This is 9B.
Nobody home.
Oh, he's in there, Sam. I know he is.
Mr. Julius. Mr. Julius.
Go away. There's no Julius here.
That's his voice.
Mr. Julius, I've got to talk to you. It's very important. If you don't open the door, I'll have to...
I'll kill myself. I'll kill myself.
He will, Sam. He will. You've got to stop him.
Go away.
Julius! Wait a minute. Wait, don't! It was the 9th floor he started from. Poor, frightened little Herman Julius was dead on arrival. By the time we were upstairs, the street was cluttered with cops. I grabbed Hope by the arm, hustled her around the corner to a rented limousine, and told her I'd get her. My next stop was the fat man himself.
Well, sir, have you reconsidered? You found Julius.
I know where he is.
Enjoy your turn.
100,000, cash on the line.
Oh, out of the question, Mr. Spade.
No cash, no tooth.
You found another buyer?
A man named Constantino de Berganza says the tooth belongs on the head of his ancestor by a previous marriage.
Oh, acquaintances are very true. And what else did he say to you?
That he'd double any bid that you made on the tooth.
My dear fellow, have you any inkling, any remote idea of the value of that tooth? No? Well, I'll tell you, sir. But let me warn you, if I tell you, and you do not then produce the tooth...
Yeah, let's get on with it, Governor.
Yes, let's sit down, sir. 16th century history of the Orient.
Well, enough to fill that tooth with.
Capital joke, sir. I shall give you a little more. Enough, say, to fill an elephant tusk.
I'm listening.
When the Portuguese invaded India in the 16th century and established the city of Goa, there were three main empires in the Orient, namely China, India, and Burma. And the rulers of all three empires sought to rule the world. Now, to become lord of the world, a monarch had first to be the possessor of 7 gems. That's gems spelled with a J, sir. Yes, gems. This is not, I'm telling you, Mr. Spade, this is actual history. 7 gems. And what were those 7 gems?
You tell.
6 do not concern us, Mr. Spade. A golden wheel, a white elephant, all easy to come by. The 7. Ah, Mr. Spade, the 7.
What was that, a tooth?
The tooth, Mr. Spade, the tooth. The sacred tooth of the great Lord Buddha himself. That remained in the temple of Maligawa at Kandy, the island of Ceylon. Many kings sent armies to capture it, but all were defeated by the fierce Brahmin guard at the temple gate. And so, we come to the year 1552.
It's about time.
Now, in that year, the Portuguese viceroy landed near Jaffna with a force of 1,220 men and defeated the king's legions in a savage battle. He returned to Goa with his victorious army and the tooth, which he retained as his personal prize. It was not long before the Burmese king, Bainaun by name, sent an emissary to Dom offering the modern equivalent of £1 million sterling as ransom.
How to get to Portugal?
Oh, hear me out, sir. Hear me out.
All right.
Well, the Portuguese archbishop called on Dom Constantino and, in the name of the Inquisition, demanded the tooth. After some delay, Dom Constantino, under threat of torture, delivered a tooth into the archbishop's hand, and that tooth was publicly destroyed. The archbishop, grinding it into powder with water and pestle, as to open a fire, that the tooth might be utterly consumed. Shortly after this, Dom Constantino's personal physician, after drawing the tooth on my head, died under very mysterious circumstances. We may safely infer that the substitute tooth which he drove into the viceroy's bone, after the primitive fashions of dentistry in those days, was the Kent tooth, put there for safekeeping until Dom Constantino could resume negotiations with Bainaun's emissary. But, before that could be accomplished, stricken with the plague, carried aboard ship and home to Portugal, where he died. The tooth still in his head. Now, the manuscript which fell into the possession of the Russian Kemidov and later into mine, but I shall not go into unnecessary detail, was Dom Constantino's deathbed confession, proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that the reposed for more than 4 centuries, not in the great temple, but in a Portuguese tooth.
Yeah, well, I think I can take it from there. You still haven't told me what my percentage is.
Well, my dear boy, if your percentage were 1/10 of 1% of what can be realized on that tooth, you could retire to a luxury for the rest of your days. For the restoration of the true relic, the Buddhist world could and would pay. Gifts and tributes, $11 million a year. Now, my boy, you begin to come. You?
I'll still settle for cash.
Very well, then. $10,000.
It's a deal.
You understand, Mr. Spade. Now, my secret. The affair must be gotten over quickly, for good and all. If it is not, believe me, this time I shall not bargain with you for my life. You shall bargain with me for yours.
After I left Gutman, I called you, Dundee, and found out by a clever ruse where Herman Julius's body had been sent. You told me. Then I held on over to the mortuary. As I walked in, a hushed young man wearing a hushed cutaway and a hushed expression greeted me.
Good evening, sir. I'm Converse Etheridge.
Thank you. I've come to pay my last respects to an old friend. Can I be alone with him for a few minutes?
His name?
Julius. Herman Julius.
Oh, yes, his widow is here, sir. Mrs. Julius.
His widow, huh?
Yes, she's inconsolable. Perhaps, as a dear friend of the departed, you might give her words of comfort.
Thank you. A little woman in black was sobbing, turned around when she heard me come in. Her eyes lit up with hatred, and suddenly she grabbed something from her pocketbook and held it at me. It was a .45, and her hand was shaking.
Yes, this time I will do it. Always before I didn't have the heart. Always shed. But this time, this time.
Freund.
You are not one of them.
No, I'm a detective. I want to punish the people responsible for your husband's death.
Yeah. This gun. I was going to follow poor Herman. There didn't seem to be any reason for going on.
Tell me something about yourself and your husband, Mrs. Julius.
It's an old story now. Years of separation in different camps. Bribery. Then we were finally released. Came to this country. After 2 years, Herman wrote us. We knew soon he would be with us. But even though they had lost, still they went after Herman Julius. He knew the Nazis were behind him all the time. And even here, in this country, he did not dare to me.
Mrs. Julius, you see, those people that followed your husband this time weren't Nazis. They were after something he was carrying. In Lisbon, didn't he go to a dentist named Laverne?
Yeah.
And didn't Laverne put an odd-shaped tooth, kind of yellow, into his bridge work?
Yeah.
Handy tooth out of Portugal, and he never even knew it.
Oh, well, poor Herman is dead. Surely they will leave his poor broken body.
I doubt it very much, Mrs. Julius.
No, surely they will.
That's why I want to make a request of you. You see, others have died besides your husband because of this thing. More will die unless you do as I ask you.
Oh, this terror. Any terror. I will do anything. Anything you say.
I told her what I wanted done, and she agreed to do it. Then I started on my part of it. I called Gutmark and told him 11 at my apartment. Then I called Dom Constantino at the San Rafael. Hope and I got there around 10:30. Go on in, Angel.
Well, this is where you live, Sam?
Where I sleep.
Must be lonely for you.
Sorry, no vacancy.
Sam, listen. There's so much I want to tell you. Well, listen. Just before the war started, I was engaged to marry a man named Kemidov in London.
The Russian, yeah. Gutman mentioned him. Something about an old...
Kemidov had stolen it in India. It was very old, and Kemidov said that the information in it made it worth more than the Maltese Falcon. It was in Latin.
Mm-hmm. How'd the fat Kemidov? So you double-crossed Kemidov and took the manuscript to Gutman.
Sam, before they get here, I've got to tell you something. No matter what happens, I want you to know this.
Sure. Say it, Angel.
Don't torture me, Sam.
To hear it, Angel.
Oh, Sam, I love you so much it feels like hate. Feels like I...
Go on. Hate me, Angel.
Darling. No, don't answer.
Relax, Angel. You'll be okay.
Sam?
Yeah?
Only you, Sam. Only you.
And third, Angel. I'll bat you home safe.
You see, sir, I'm a punctual man.
Come on in, Gutman.
Look, the same apartment, the same colors, everything.
Yeah, the same rat race, Carol. Hello, Marvin. Killed anybody since lunch?
You want me to give it a Sherman? Oh, please, Marvin, no unpleasant talk. Mr. Gutman, please tell Marvin.
In here, gentlemen.
Yes, Marvin. Mr. Spade, I'm sure, regrets the unfortunate... Well, and what have we here?
You all know the lady?
You see, Mr. Gutman, you see, I told you. Now he's dealing with her. Oh, this is...
Shut up, you hear me?
Sure, that's like that. I'm jumpy. I don't feel good.
You shut up, too.
Always fighting, violence, unpleasantness. I'm getting too old.
Now, Mr. Spade, to the business at hand. You have the truth.
I want some answers first. Did you have our dentist friend Laverne killed? Did Marvin kill Laverne?
No.
Cairo?
No.
Nobody killed Laverne.
Have you asked the little...
I gotta ask you, baby.
Oh, Sam. No, Sam, you know I didn't.
Well, it doesn't matter. I got my pigeon picked to take the fall.
Oh, I don't feel so good.
Now, Marvin, retain yourself. No violence. Well, sir,
That's it. Sit still.
I have a package from the Avalon mortuary, Mr. Spade. Oh, hello, sir.
Yeah, let's have it.
Mrs. Julia said to tell you...
Yeah, thanks. Look, this is it. This little package. The candy tooth.
The tooth!
Mr. Gutman, it's all over. We've got it.
Put those fat lunch hooks down before I chop them off.
I rather thought this wasn't all. What now, sir?
I told you there was another bidder. And here he is.
I would advise you not to reach for the spade.
You're pointing that gun at the wrong belly. The fat man's inside. Mr. Gutman, Mr. Cairo, Dom Constantino de Braganza of Port.
It's the Russian.
Kemidov.
Do not be so formal, Hope, my darling. You may call me Sergei Ivanovich.
All right, let's get off the Kopek. We're all here.
You see,
Mr.
Gutman.
Spade, you are an unmitigated cad, sir. You all along this man was an imposter.
That was an Amy?
Well, what matter? There's enough for all.
Give me that pack.
Now, Marvin, now!
They both had their guns into each other at once, practically. Kemidov fired first, but Marvin didn't fall. He spit out his chewing gum, then he squeezed the trigger of his .45. They both looked more surprised than anything else, but they were both very dead before they fell down.
Marvin dead. As dead as Kemet. Oh, well, it was worth it. You know, of course, it was Hilde Laverne.
I told you I had my pigeon picked for the fall.
By gad, man, you are a winner.
He looks so dead.
You can have the package now.
Oh, yes. The truth,
Package with his fat little fingers. They were trembling so he could hardly undo the strings. He closed a small metal jar. He looked at me and wrenched the lid off it. He dumped the contents onto the table.
The tooth, what? Ashes, sir, ashes.
That's it, Gutman, ashes. The tooth is there, along with the rest of Herman Julius. He was cremated this afternoon.
Cremated? The tooth, it was cremated.
No, it cannot be, no.
But it is. Oh, you idiot. I'll tell you what, idiot. Why do I stay with him? Hey, why?
Well, come, Joe. Shall we stand here holding a curious quirk of fate? Or shall we defy all fates? Were we not well underway, except when this charming lady detoured us with her romantic notions? Come. What say you, Joe, eh?
You mean we
yes,
go to...
Sir Mark.
Mr. Gutman, do not say it. He is listening.
Yes, a wise precaution. Then we go, eh?
Yes, Mr. Gutman, yes, we go.
Adieu, Mr. Spade. Oh, sound. It's like at the final curtain of Hamlet. Alas, poor Marvin. Oh, well, and it's twixt the cup and the tooth.
I let him go, Mr. Montgomery. I knew there was nothing on him that Dundee's boys could make stick. I thought twice before I let Dundee take Hope Laverne, but we both agreed it was a smart thing to do. And what do you suppose that... Period. End of report.
Oh, say, for once you came out ahead. $20,000. Oh, just think of the things we can do. Pay all the bills, a year's rent on the office, have that awful old holstered, and a new ribbon for my typewriter.
Typewriter ribbon.
Well, maybe I can get along on this one for a while, but Sam, I do should get my mother's earrings out of Moisha's pawn shop.
Effie, I know this is going to be a terrible blow to you, but...
Sam, what do you do with the $20,000?
I put it up for bail.
Bail?
Yeah.
But that was the $20,000. And your money. It's very simple, Sam. You just go down and ask them for it.
Effie, you see, you don't understand these things. Very complex legal technicality. You see, you put up a bond, and then you...
Sam, how much was the bail for Hope Laverne?
That's what I mean, Angel.
Oh, Sam, you're such a child. You'll never see her again. She was just using you.
I'll take it, Effie. Hello.
Angel.
Hello, kitten.
Sam, I'm free. Shall I come over?
Well, I'll always be waiting for you, kitten.
Me too, Sam.
380. Kitten? Sam, I just get...
Can't figure me out, eh, Angel? Well, I'll tell you. I've lived without faith, and I lived without charity, but I've just got to have...
Out here's where I... Oh, good night, Sam.
Good night, sweetheart.
This is Robert Montgomery. I'm sure our suspense audience agrees with me when I say it can't be too soon to have Sam Spade back with us again in a full-hour adventure on radio's Outros. Incidentally, our producer, editor, director on these weekly full hours of suspense, Bill Spear, joins hands with Dashiell Hammett to bring you the adventures of Sam Spade each Sunday night on this network.
Thanks for the plug, Bob. I have a basket full of thanks to my friend Howard Sam Duff, the kind of actor a director lights candles for, and to wonderful Lorraine Tuttle, who plays Effie each week, and to Joseph Kern, them all. And to all you other ornaments to your profession, Kathy Lewis, Wally Mayer, Jay Novello, Jeanette Nolan, Jack Edwards Jr., Sidney Miller, Hans Conried, and Bill Johnston. And, of course, as always, to our musical director and conductor, Led Gluskin, and to the composer of our original scores.
And our special thanks to Bob Tolman and Jason James, who wrote The Candy Tooth, and who were voted by the Writers of America the Edgar Allan Poe Award for Sam Spade, the best detective show on the air.
And to the Wildroot Company, our gracious of same for this courtesy and cooperation in making tonight's Spadery available. Now tell about next week, Bob.
Next week, we'll have another great American master of suspense, the author of The Post Ice and Double Indemnity, James M. Cain. It's an hour of Mr. Cain's very wonderful novel, Love's Lovely Counterfeit. This is Robert. Welcome you once again next week to radio's outstanding theater of thrills. Suspense.
Get next week at this same time a flower of suspense. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Tonight's presentation of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. Tonight, we bring you a story of betrayal and retribution on Devil's Island. We call it The Stool Pigeon. So now, starring Mr. John, is tonight's suspense play, The Stool Pigeon.
It was hot that afternoon, which in itself, you understand, should not have been surprising. On that Devil's Island, it was always hot, unless there were the rains, and then it was a different, more steaming heat. There were 4 of us racing cockroaches in canoes, Nakil, Thibault, Cano, and myself. We were what the authorities generously call us. That is to say, we were free to roam within the confines of the island, but never to leave it. As I say, we were racing had already won 3 races. His animal was a huge red beast, fully 3 and possessing a remarkable stamina. She was named Marie. Made me think of a filly I used to bet on in Paris.
It's hot. My friends, it is hot.
You never get tired of saying that, does he? Yesterday you said the same thing, last month, last year.
You owe me 5 francs from the last race, pay.
Always lose. Here.
Shall we have another?
No.
No, there. Now, who says it's hot? Who said it?
Oh, shut up.
You little maggot. I could break your shell with my nail if I felt like it. But I like you, Makil, so I just.
I heard there's a ship coming this week.
Oh?
Where'd you hear that?
Cano hears everything and knows.
I heard from a guard.
It's a lie, because I hear everything first. I called you.
Stop it. Put away the knife, Cano. You seen?
Yeah, a knife. Knife! Where did you get a knife, Cano? Oh, but I do mind. That's interesting that you have a knife. Are you thinking of escape, perhaps?
Never mind.
I'd like to buy your knife, Cano.
Not for sale.
100 francs?
I'm not selling.
150?
No.
Ah, well, some other time.
I've got half a bottle of wine. Let's go and drink it. I don't feel like quarreling.
Oh, you have a divine soul. Come, my little maggot. No, Exil.
He of the divine soul had been on Devil's Island for 8 years. In Marseille, he had been, among other things, an habitual thief and arson. 5'6" and had long been befriended by Thibault. Was by his very stature and past the king of the Libres on the island, a huge and gross man towering over 6 feet. In Paris, he left behind him a series of syndicate murders for which he'd escaped the guillotine only by underground and political measures. In spite of his terrible reputation and physical appearance, he was not an unfair man and well liked by the rest of us. Cano was slim, volatile as benzene. In a fit of jealous anger, he'd slit his wife's throat. A moody, uncertain fellow, Cano. I was there because I was caught embezzling from the bank. A stupid thing to do, more caught. I looked forward to 6 more years before release. Gone. Every mortal drop.
Half for one with the mouth of a hippopotamus.
I remember a wine in Paris, Monche.
Think of Emile. He might be tasting your wine soon. Pestole. How long has it been now?
9 days. No, 10.
I give odds he never reaches Maribor. 5 to 1.
Why not? Why shouldn't he?
Well, the sharks, Cano. The sharks.
This boat wasn't much good either.
Any other reason?
Let's wish him walking up.
I'd like to talk about it. Mathilde, why else shouldn't he reach Maribor?
You know how many have tried in the past 5 years and...
We all know, don't we, Thibault?
Yeah.
Someone informs. Someone tells the governor.
Yes?
We only think that. It's only a suspicion. Isn't that so, Gilles?
Someone who knows everything that's happening before anyone else.
He's right. My friends, he's absolutely... It's true. I've long suspected it myself, and it's wise that it should be brought out into the open. Someone on the island is making himself fat on the sufferings of others. I shouldn't want Emil to be caught. He was a friend, a good friend.
Terrible thing to work for.
The question is, who?
Not? It could be any one of 100, if it's true. That pig Louis Dodin. Well, one could imagine anything from him.
Cabaret, Opus, Galenal, Maquille, Auxil, even yourself, Canu.
Oh, no, that is a dreadful thing to contemplate, Thibault. No, not one of us. Over here. Oh, have you seen Thibault?
Oh, yeah. We were speaking of you a minute ago. What's the matter?
It's Emil.
What about Emil?
He's been caught. They wrote off Maribor. They took him.
Oh, sacrament.
Now the question is, how did they know he was going to Maribor? I wonder. How did they know?
2 days later, Emile was back on the island. We heard that he was in bad shape. Thibault managed to smuggle in some cigarettes through a friendly guard, and that was the best he could do. They were very bad, worse than usual. The governor, Monsieur Planche, was angry, and restrictions even more intolerable. He seemed Emile's attempted escape. There was a lot of grumbling. Even Thibault felt it. We heard from the beating he received when he was captured. Thibault was very quiet for a week after. Then one day he said,
I'm fed up.
Take a petition to the governor.
No, there's no joke. I repeat, I'm fed up. Something must be done.
Escape?
Or what?
Yes, what?
Stand. Stand. No more oppression. We're prisoners, but there's still rights, human rights, to stand against tyranny and inhumanity.
Bravo. You've just been elected to the Chamber of Deputies.
I'm losing patience with you, Canu.
Don't be a fool. We have no rights. The governor's dog has more rights than we.
And you know why? Shall I tell you why? Because the governor's dog is clever. We not clever. The governor's dog sits up prettily, and he has no other dogs to contend with, no competition, while we fight among ourselves for the garbage in the street.
Say, what do you mean, Thibault?
We no longer fought among ourselves, but banded together, a unit of strength, a solid front. We can the authorities in France to better our conditions.
Then what do we do? Present a petition?
Perhaps not.
No good would come of it. If there is to be action, I'd rather try and escape.
How far would you get, Auxil? Are you forgetting the informer?
We don't know. We don't know there's an informer. We suspect, but we suspect everything. There's nothing else to do. Suppose it's the they had before. Suppose the governor is just too smart for us. How many choices do we have anyway? Brazil, they turn us back. Dutch Guiana, Emile tried it. They're always watching. Venezuela in an open boat? Not much chance. Or do you want the jungle? An informer doesn't lessen our chances too much, it seems.
Does lessen them.
I have been thinking hard, my friends. We're agreed on one thing, conditions. If we could escape, we would do so and take our chances.
If.
Therefore, there are two choices, it seems. On the island or escape.
And both impossible, I would say.
You'll never be a success.
He's right, Auxil. You'll never be a success. Go on, Thibault.
I think that we may accept both choices, one dependent on the other.
What do you mean?
If we had better conditions, we might be able to escape.
Can't you ever talk in a straight line?
Now, which of us has needed to see the governor?
Well, you have. You have, Thibault. You do his garden work.
Exactly. Come, my friend. Monsieur Marsh strolls in his garden. Thibault, he says. Thibault, the roses are not looking today. He stands next to me and he says this. And for the indignity that the official heaps on my head and for what he allowed done, I could stretch out my hands and strangle him in 5 seconds. You understand? In 5 seconds. But it is, I would not strangle. I would hold him as a hostage. You follow me. Now let us suppose that a revolt will be overthrown.
Oh, la, la, la.
It's a thought
Nobody's ever tried it. But the guards would shoot us down.
They would have to shoot the governor. Try.
And if we succeed in what you say, then what? Huh? We do what?
That remains in my head. You must trust me. Achille?
If I don't look forward to 6 more years of this.
Achille.
I'm at your side, my friend, as always. As always.
That leaves you, Cano.
All right.
Excellent. Then we must start to make our... Cano, stand by the door and warn us if anyone approaches. We don't want the informer to overhear us, do we?
You are listening to tonight's presentation in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Interested in spreading the truth to others, CBS Radio suggests you contact Letters Abroad, 695 Park Avenue, New York 17, New York. Letters Abroad, once you've given them a few facts about yourself, job interests, hobbies, age, with the name of a correspondent who lives overseas. Send a stamped, self-addressed on at 695 Park Avenue, New York 17.
And now, we bring back to our Hollywood soundstage Mr. John Daner, starring in tonight's production, The Stool Pigeon, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
We made our plans in Thibault's hut. Up to a point, they were simple. Thibault, on the next day, was to await the Gulf presence. If he appeared, Thibault would grab him and take him to the greenhouse. We three, I would be in the vicinity. I to stand guard over Monsieur Planche with Thibault, Achille and Cano to spread word among the other libres at the moment it counted. If, on the other hand, the governor did not put in an appearance, we would wait for our chance on the next day or the next. As it happened, it wasn't until the 5th day that the thing happened. It was well timed. The island was stifling, the prisoners restless, smart of the still harsh restrictions which had followed Emile's escape and arrest. We were like a time bomb ready to explode, and the explosion came. We to the greenhouse. He held the struggling governor in his massive arms.
All right, Mikey Cano. Get the others quietly, but hurry. Tell them to gather at the governor's house.
Let me go, you fools, you puppets.
Do not speak of suffering, Monsieur Blanche. For you, go on, Cano, Mathilde. Do everything quietly.
Yes, Thibault, come on.
Now, if you continue to struggle, Monsieur Blanche, I shall be forced to break open your head.
What did it, Thibault?
It will mean a life sentence. You know it. And for you, possibly a death sentence. Do you know that, Governor?
What are you going to do?
Hold you as us. We demand our rights as men. You understand? As men.
We have no civil rights.
Human rights. My friend Emile died. He took his chance in escaping, but he wasn't shot. He was beaten.
He resisted.
Things must change.
I can change nothing. The regulations are set in Paris. I simply
overdo your authority. You must apply for better conditions for the men.
I can do nothing.
We shall see. Stay quietly now. We'll come back.
We waited. It seemed a long time, and the silence was more terrible than the heat in that place. The governor's hobby was raising orchids, and the greenhouse was full of them. I've always hated the thing. Then, suddenly, it was Summer's Day, a moment before a thunderstorm.
What the devil's keeping them?
I don't know. Maybe the guards know what's happened. Maybe they've been caught.
Listen.
They're shooting them. Thibault, they're shooting them. Shut up.
Where's Mathilde?
Coming.
What happened?
We got word of about a dozen. And word must have got to the guards about him.
I told you. Now, before it's too late, release me. It'll be better for you if you do.
What happened to the others?
Last I saw, they were coming this way.
Thibault, it's horrible. I saw 4 of them fall.
All right, come on. Where's office? Monsieur Blanche, we are taking you to your office. If any guards try to stop us, you know what happens.
You can do nothing, Thibault. Now, give yourself up, Mark.
Slowly.
You in there! Come out with your hands up!
The guards, Thibault.
Tell them, Governor. Tell them that we're coming out. With you, tell them.
This is the governor speaking. They're coming out.
Tell them not to shoot.
Don't shoot.
Now, calmly, nicely, we walk out. Stay very close to them, my friends. That way you'll be safe.
around the honeypot and we sidled along the path, past the guards who stood no more than 20 feet from us. It must have been a ridiculous... But the honeypot was the governor and our protection from bullets. Then we were in his office, and the door closed. It was a strange thing. We none of us thought beyond the moment. And for that moment we were your beings. Prisoners no longer, because we were now the captors. But when I glanced into the courtyard and saw the ring of guards looking up, rifles cradled in... It was then another moment, and one this year.
What now? First the siren must stop. It offends my ears. Governor, give the order. This is the governor. Turn off the siren. Good. You're cooperative. It's better that way.
I repeat, what now?
I think we go to the next part of my plan. Makil, little maggot, stay by the window and observe. Report if there is an attempt by the guards to move into the building.
Yes. What do you think you can accomplish? Escape? You know that.
It's been done. When there's been no informer, it's been done. First things first. Now we come to the matter of conditions here.
I have told you.
I know what you've told me, and I say to you, with the power to ease the suffering of the men, give them better food, better medical
concern for your fellow men, such as me, Thibault. So for those you murdered.
That is an entirely different matter.
Enough of this, Thibault. What happens to us?
My dear Canu, it is happening to us now. You'll see. Trust me.
The devil, how do we get out of here?
All in good time. Therefore, Governor, you will sign your pledge to do these things of which I have...
If I don't?
I'll kill you. Slowly. I can. I practice.
Let us suppose that I agree to this. What then?
Then you don't die. Second point. We have a chance to escape.
No.
A fair chance. He had no chance at all, did he?
There will be no escape.
In order to escape, there must be secrecy. And there can be no secrecy when you know beforehand of the plan.
You will not have a chance to escape. If you let me go, I warn you, I will deal with you all. There will be no escape.
My dear Governor, I said nothing about when we attempt to make this escape.
What are you talking of? Escape now, Thibault.
Yes, of course, now. Each to his own desire. For me, it may be now or sometime later, but the opportunity, if it comes, must have margin of success. That is up to you, Monsieur Blanche.
What do you mean?
Here now, the third point. I wish to know the name of your informer. The one who has, for what must be at least 5 years, supplied you with information concerning every thought and deed of the prisoners.
There is no informer.
You are, Governor.
No, I have no need.
You have a great... You wish to go on living.
What are you up to, Thibault?
Don't interrupt His Excellency Carnot. He's about to tell us something.
If I tell you...
Will not speak for the others? For myself? Yes.
You pig. You sell us out?
No, my dear Carnot, to do as you will. Monsieur Blanche. Patient. Who? Him. That is what I wanted to know. Then I ask you one favor, Governor. Do not be hard on these two. All this was done to mean what you've just told me, nothing more.
I don't understand you.
I have other friends. I should not want to see them go as he went. You had better escape now.
No, Thibault. It's not true.
Run, Makir, run. Or I'll throw you out of the window.
On my honor, Thibault. No, me.
I know you. Run.
Gilles, Cano, you don't believe it, do you?
Run, little maggot, outside. Quickly.
No, Thibault, no.
Hope that the guards shoot you.
Please.
Run. I will. That is murder, my friend. You wouldn't want that. Guards will shoot first and inquire later, Monsieur Blanche.
It was expected, but somehow things were different, a little better on the island. How do you... The governor was ashamed. Perhaps he admired something about Thibault that none of us understood. How does one know these things? There's not much to tell. A year after we were released from solitary, Thibault tried to escape. And this time it wasn't a prison informer who turned him in. It was... How do you explain these things?
Suspense. John Daner starred in tonight's presentation of The Stool Pigeon. Next week, the story of a man who returned home to find his people in the grip of a strange disease. We call it the Fright. That's next week on Suspense. Suspense is produced and directed by Tony Ellis, who wrote tonight's script. The music was composed by Rennie Garrigan and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. Featured in the cast were Parley Bear, Joe Kearns, Tony Barrett, Jim Nusser, and Edgar Barrier.
Tomorrow night on FBI in Peace and War, a criminal comes up against a determined socialite who doesn't scare easy. And it isn't long before the G-men move in on the ex-con's new racket. Remember, the FBI in Peace and War, tomorrow evening over most of these same stations. Stay tuned now for George Herman in the news, followed by Disc Derby. Thursday nights, The Whisperings Mystery on the CBS Radio Network.
Autolite and its 98,000 deals to Herbert Marshall in a true story. Tonight's presentation of Suspense. Tonight, Autolite presents the true story of five in their race against death. A radio dramatization of The Diary of our star, Mr. Herbert Marshall.
Hey, Wilcox.
What for, Sheriff?
I'm making a fast getaway, that's what for.
Oh, not I, Sheriff. It's those ignition-engineered Autolite spark plugs in my car. They're experts on fast getaways, and they can't be beat for smoother performance and gas savings either.
Well, I want them Autolite spark plugs for my car.
You bet you do, Sheriff. Everybody wants those world-famous Autolite spark plugs. So why not have your neighborhood Autolite spark plug dealer check the exact condition of your spark plugs with his exclusive... And if they're worn out or wrong for your style of driving, he'll recommend super smooth ignition-engineered Autolite spark plugs.
How do I find my nearest Autolite spark plug dealer, Wilcox?
Why, just phone Western Union number and ask for operator 25. She'll gladly tell you the spark plug dealer. And remember, from bumper to tail light, always right with Autolite.
And now, with The Diary of Captain Scott and the performance of Mr. Herbert Marshall. Autolite again to keep you in suspense.
January 18th, 1912. 59, temperature minus 22 degrees a.m. The South Pole is under very different circumstances from those expected. A horrible day. The elation ran high all morning since we were nearing our goal and thought to be the first 5 men to reach the pole. But our hopes were dashed when every flag in a tent near the spot. The Norwegians have told us in our first. In the empty tent, under the name of their leader, Ralph Simpson, were listed the 5 men who were with him. It was a terrible disaster, and I'm very sorry for my loyal companions.
Is it now? They did find an easier way up over the barriers. No, we thought as much.
It's a rotten shame, men, and I'm sorry.
Well, you've done everything you could.
And there's more to do. More for all of us. 800 miles, as a matter of fact. Are you ready to start?
Stay in this ruddy, miserable place.
Is the sledge ready, Oates?
A bit frozen in, I suppose.
Yes, I imagine. Wilson, do you vote to start?
The faster the better, Captain.
Bowers, can you get us tight and start us off on course?
It's a bit overcast, but I think so. Yes, I think I can.
We'll go then, as quickly as we can. The minute saved here, in a minute more, compass aboard the ship. January 18th. Temperature minus 20. The moment of departure is here. We'll collect our thoughts, and few of them are voiced. We know the same are with all of us. Can we pull the heavy sledge with great distance? 800 miles over trackless, windswept barrier and drift. Can we find the carefully arranged supply camps being left on our trail? Can we trust our navigation instruments? Can we survive? January 21st. Temperature minus 7.4. This morning, while freeing the Evans smashed his hand. I'm afraid the poor chap is in for trouble. His wounds were not closed in this cold. And we absolutely cannot spare the time to camp as our rations are very low, as well as our fuel. January 28th, night camp. Temperature minus 27. The clouds continue to fall behind us, but with painful slowness. Our diet and with it our general condition has improved since finding our help to supply camp. Only 42 miles to the next one, but we're not without suffering from a very cold foot. Evans' hands and face on the hot, and tonight Wilson is suffering tortures from snow blindness. Bowers and I are the only ones without trouble at present.
Oh, wait. Hold on. I've got to rest.
Don't try to help him. Just hold to the thread.
I wasn't helping, Captain. I've got to rest anyway. I get dizzy.
Don't sit down, Evans. Stay up on your feet.
Can't we put him in his sleeping bag and put him on the sledge? No, I won't do that. We can pull him. I won't do it.
It's for the good of the rest of us, Evans.
No, I'll stay here first.
Then, it's an order.
What kind of an order? I won't be dragged on by the rest of them.
Come along.
7 or 8 more miles, Evans. Then we'll be stopping for some rest and a hot meal. How many more 7 miles?
Cover these as
How many more?
Evans.
I can't.
I'm sorry, Evans.
Yes.
All right. There'll be hot food in a few more hours. Let's move on. February 11th. Temperature minus 26.2. The worst day we've had during the trip, and greatly owing to our own fault. We started on the wretched surface, pulling on sledge. The light horrible, dull as foggy made everything look fantastic. As we went on, the light grew worse, and we found ourselves in pressure. Then came the fateful decision to steer east. The disturbance grew worse, and my spirits received a shock. The farther we plunged ahead, the less possible it seemed that we could find a way out. We struggled until 9 p.m. to do nothing more, but there's no getting away from the fact that we are not pulling strong. Your eyes, Wilson. How are they?
Better, I think.
Yes, I think they are. Oh, Evans.
Oh, yeah?
What were you saying?
Was I saying something? I didn't think I was. I thought I was asleep.
Perhaps you were.
Know what you were saying, Evans? You were naming the schools that donated sledges for the expedition.
Oh, thought I was asleep. Must have been dreaming about home. Better there than I do here. I mean, I like dreaming about it.
Get as much rest as you can, Evans. We'll want an early start.
All right. It's better, Captain. It bothers it.
Good.
How do you get along so well, Captain?
Well, because I know everything is going to be all right.
Oh, do you really think so?
Of course I think so. You know as well as I what splendid planning we've had. Everything is going precisely as it should. There's a line of supply camps right back to the ship. All we've got to do is follow it. February 17th, a very terrible day, although we got out of the turmoil. Everton was better after a good sleep and declared he was all right. He started in his place on the traces, but half an hour later he had to leave the sledge and follow behind. At the first rest stop, he came up very slowly. He stayed with a while, then dropped out again. He tried to pull him on the sledge, but had not the strength. At lunch camp, we saw him coming far astern, and when we looked again, he had fallen.
Evan, is he alive?
Yes. Get him to his feet. Get him moving. Come on, Evan. Evan.
Oh, no. Go.
Oh, heavens.
I don't want to go.
Go and get the others, Bowers. Bring the thread. Right. Listen to me. Can't lie here. You've got to move. Evans, come on, get up. You have to do it. They can't lift you.
Over there by the tree. Go over there.
When we got him into the tent comatose, and he died quietly at 12:30 p.m. It's a terrible thing to lose a companion that way. It's a personal thing to each of us. As usual, our doubts and fears are not voiced, but I don't know how many of the remaining 4.
Autolite is bringing you Sir Herbert Marshall in The Diary of Captain Scott. Tonight's production in radio's standing theater of thrills, Suspense.
Hey, well, Torch. Are them Autolite sparks as slick as a hair tail?
You bet they are, Sheriff. These plugs are designed by the same Autolite engineers who designed the coil, distributor, starting motor, and all the other important parts of the complete ignition system equipment on many leading makes of our finest cars, trucks, and tractors.
Well, what about that Autolite resistor spark plug?
Why, Sheriff, that Autolite resistor spark plug gives double life, greater gas savings, and smoother performance as compared to spark plugs with. And what's more, it reduces spark perception. The Autolite resistor spark plug is just one of a complete Autolite spark plugs designed and built for every use. So, friends, take a tip from me and have your nearest Autolite spark plug dealer check your spark plug soon. And remember, from the tail light, you're always right with Autolite.
And now, Autolite brings to our Hollywood soundstage Mr. Herbert Marshall in Lewis's production of The Diary of Captain Scott, a true story related to keep you in suspense.
February 22nd, night camp, 10-9. There's little doubt we are in for a rotten, critical time going home, and the lateness of the siege may make it rather serious. We never won the march of 8.5 miles with greater difficulty than we did today. We've come around a bit more than half distance, which leaves almost 400 distressing miles of dragging still before us. On the bright side, we found another supply camp and 10 full days of provisions, and it's less than 70 miles to the next. February 25th. Temperature minus 23.2. A little despondent again. A really terrible stuff. Oh, God, he is helpless. It means the pulling up to Wilson, almost totally blind now. Bowers and me. We do not do well at all. The truth is there's not enough energy in our rations. Without tremendous intakes of energy in this cold, we suffer physically, mentally. There is little communication between us and the tent at night now.
What is it, Scott?
Well, I thought I heard something. I thought you said something, didn't you?
No.
Bowers. I've got to talk to you, Bowers. Hey, Bowers, I'm terribly worried. I didn't think it was you who was called. I heard my wife.
Under these conditions, I
Wait,
hardly think...
You started last night with her, Bowers, and there wasn't a dream. I was lying awake. Look, and suddenly I was with her. In our library at home. No, I wasn't. I could feel everything and smell everything. The perfume she was wearing, the warmth from the fire. It was warm, Bowers. I was warm, even after I came back here. No dream can accomplish that. I went home. I held her in my arms. And we went up to see our son. He was asleep. And then we went back to the library and sat before the fire. And it was warm.
I'm sorry that he's asleep, Bob, but it is late.
I know. Well, every time. I'll have to tell him of courageous men serving their country. I'll make him...
I'm sure he will be, darling.
Above all, we must guard him against indolence. We must make him a strenuous man. Interested in games.
He'll be a good man.
And you, Kate, if I could tell you the millions of thoughts I've had of you.
I was with you, I think. I think so. I knew you must have been suffering.
There are some. There's bound to be when a feat is as great as ours. The years of planning. 8 marks to the pole. 800 back. But what we brought to the scientists, and what honor we brought to England.
You're home, darling. And that's more important than science and honor. You're home and you won't ever go away again.
No, serve my duty, I think. I shall collect and arrange my notes. Perhaps I shall write a book and discuss the bottom of the world and living.
But never go back.
The drift snow, like finest flower, flickering up on clothing and stinging the sand dust.
But never go back.
The great cloudy columns of snowdrift advancing from the south and heralding... No, I like it here. I'm warm. I'm warm.
It was a dream, Scott. Good Lord, it's nothing to worry about.
It was not a dream. All of your senses don't coordinate in a dream. You don't smell and touch and feel. Well, I've told you. If it's the first sign of a breakdown, I wanted you to know.
Of course it isn't. You're in splendid shape.
Thanks, Bowers. I owe you a great deal. At least I owe you the privilege of getting some sleep. Good night, Bowers.
Good night.
Last night, minimum minus 41.5. But our fortunes have changed. It looks brighter. Bauer's excellent navigating has kept us precisely on course, and on it we found an unexpected supply tent and a note addressed to me. The men back at the Cape had taken it upon themselves to change plans. The next camp, we expected only supplies, has been enlarged and manned. We are to be met there with dog sledges. At that point, our dragging days are finished. And only 24.5 miles away. March 2nd, night camp. All the elation of yesterday has been crashed. Misfortune rarely comes singly. This day we have suffered 3 distinct blows. Through some oversight, our fuel oil supply is less than half what we thought it was. Titus Oates disclosed his feet. They show bad indeed. They will never be saved. Lastly, the weather has turned on us. Blizzard conditions are extreme. They are indeed. But none of us is despondent, or at least none should. March 10th. Things steadily going downhill. Midday, minus 43. Blizzard still with us. Oates unable to go on, still camped at noon. I've covered only 11 miles in 8 days.
Captain.
Yes, Oates.
It's quite difficult to say. I'm going to die, and I know it.
No, you aren't, Oates. You mustn't talk like that.
It's no good, Captain. I know I am, and I'm not. I know what I'm saying. And the quicker it happens, the better. I'm not going to hold the rest of you. I know how I felt about poor Evans. He was holding us back, and I knew he was going to die, and I was angry at him for keeping on as long as he did.
Talk is that, Oates.
Oh, it's the truth, and I don't care. And he was holding us back, and I knew there was no chance for him to die. Well, I don't know what the rest of you were thinking, but that's what I was. And now I'm all that. I want you to leave me.
We'll not,
Captain. I'm not paid. I'd like to go. I'm tired and it hurts, and I'd like to go to sleep and not wake up. I've no family to leave like the rest of you.
We won't leave you, Oates. You know that.
That way. I'll get in my sleeping bag and I'll just sleep. I'm not afraid. I want to.
We can't do that, Oates. We couldn't leave you.
Please, Captain, you know I'm right. All of... Please. Please.
March 16th. All 7. lost track of dates, but I think the last is correct. For should this journal be found, I want these facts ordered. This was his end. He woke in the morning yesterday. He said, "I'm just going outside. Shan't be long." He was, and we have not seen him since. March 18th, nightcap. We are 14 miles away from the sledge camp, but ill fortune presses. My right foot is gone. 2 days ago, I was proud possessor of the best piece. Now one is gone. The others are still confident of getting through, but I don't know. March 21st. Got within 11 miles of Dog Sledge Camp yesterday. But blizzard forced us to lay up. We did not dare to leave the tent. We would surely die if we did.
Oh, Bob! Here I am.
See you.
So nice in the sun.
Nice.
Nothing like this at your precious South Pole.
Something like this. Down there, even when the sun is high, it's always weak and diffused. Because of the reflection from the ice from every side, there never is a definite shadow, always a number of shadows of any man or object.
I think you love it.
No. 5 men march to the pole and they say they've conquered it. But they haven't. It will conquer them.
You'll never go. I didn't want you to go, remember? I was afraid you wouldn't come back. Remember when I said that?
Yes, I remember.
I was such a coward.
I laughed and told you that I would, just for you, that I would name a glacier for you.
And I asked you how a woman should act when a glacier is named after her.
Well, I didn't name a glacier for you, but I thought it was Kate. I thought it was. It's important that you know that. I think of you constantly. And our son must be strong. And you must protect him, and he must protect you.
Scott.
Kate, I love you. If this...
Scott!
Well, yes, for Bowers. Wilson is dead. Oh, Wilson. Ah, Wilson dead. March 29th. The first, Bowers and I, surviving Wilson, have had a continuous gale and blizzard from west-southwest. And we have fuel to make 2 cups of tea apiece and bear food for 2 days on the 20th. Every day we've been ready to start for the Dog Sledge Camp, 11 miles away. But outside the door of the tent is whirling drift. I do not think we can hope for any better things now. We shall stick it out to the end. But we're getting weaker, of course. And the end cannot be far. It seems a pity. Like much more. This rough journal and our dead bodies must tell the story. In dying, we are...
Following year, an expedition formed by Captain Scott's comrades at the main depot at Cape Armitage set out and found his body, along with that of Bowers and Wilson. Search was carried on, but they were never found. A great cairn was built camp, a trivial monument to the courage of 5 men, and especially to the complete devotion to duty of Robert Falcon Scott, who until his dying breath continued to keep a record of the fatal journey.
Suspense. A true story presented by Autolite. Tonight's star, Mr. Herbert Marshall.
And once again, here is Mr. Marshall. Bart, we enjoyed your performance as Captain Scott, and we hope you'll be back with us again soon.
Thank you to ask me. An invitation from Autolite to appear on Suspense is, it's as welcome as a letter from home.
Well, Bart, it is like a letter from home because, you see, we count you a member of the 98,000 Autolite distributors and dealers, the nearly 30,000 men and women in 28 great Autolite plants, and the 18,000 people who have invested a portion of their savings in Autolite.
Well, our Autolite family, may I say thank you. And remember,
you're always right, life.
Next week, another true story of almost legendary man. The dramatic recreation of The Shooting of Billy the Kid, starring Mr. Frank Lovejoy. The program will be heard on Suspense. Suspense is produced and directed by Elliot, with music composed by Lucian Morwick and conducted by Lud. The soloist tonight was Eloise. The Diary of Captain Scott, Suspense by Gil Dowd. In tonight's story, June Whitley was heard as Kate, Powers, Ben Wright as Oates, Joseph Kearns as Evans, and Charles Davis as Wilson.
Herbert may be heard each week on his own radio program, The Man Called X.
And remember, next week on Suspense, Mr. Frank Lovejoy in The Shooting of Billy the Kid.
For the location of your Autolite battery dealer or your nearest station, phone Western Union by number and ask for Operator Light. Good night.
This is the CBS Radio Network.
And now, and its 60,000 dealers and service stations present
Suspense. Tonight, Autolite brings you James Mason and Pamela Collino in Agatha Christie's Where There's a Will. Suspense play, produced and directed by Anton.
Friends, have you ever, in a fix, like having to get started in a hurry and your motor won't turn over? Well, what you need is an Autolite Stay Full battery, the handy dynamic battery you can definitely depend on. Why, needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use. You can say bravura for that Aquapura. Plenty of extra liquid reserve. Yes, sirree. And it has extra plates in every cell. That means longer life and strong. What's more, those plates are protected against loss by... I can't say enough about Autolite Stay Full batteries, those marvelous marvels with more liquid reserve than Hollywood has stars. So get wise, get an Autolite Stay Full. Remember, you're right with Autolite.
And now, Autolite brings Mason and Pamela Collino in a tale well calculated to keep suspense.
And now, Mr. Jepson, you really must let me make you a whiskey and soda. I have some...
That, Ridgway. I've come to find out when you can raise 10,000 pounds.
I see. Yes, I see. Well, Mr. Jepson, 10,000 pounds is a great deal of money.
It needed to cover your notes.
Yes, that's right. But you know, Mr. Jepson, just let me write you one more IOU and...
Run out, Ridgway.
Oh, well, I wasn't much of a gambler anyhow. Well, perhaps it's just as well I've learned my lesson. How long, Mr. Jepson, would you say I have to raise the money?
4 weeks.
And if I should fail to raise the money? I see. Well, you make yourself very clear, Mr. Jepson. All's not lost. Miss has had the foresight to draw up a new will making me her heir. The money was to go to her niece, my cousin Miriam. A new will's been drawn up. Aunt Mary finds me much more satisfactory than poor Miriam. The very spirit of solicitude I am, inquiring about her health, about her poor weak heart. For weeks,
Is that right, Mr. Jepson?
That's right, Ridgway. Or else.
I see. Or else. That's when it began. Circumstance of the new will in my favor decided me on my plan. Wouldn't look right. Nobody else living in the house but Aunt Mary and I, and Elizabeth, the maid. And since I would bet pounds, no, murder would not look right. Besides, I was fond. Well, a day or so, there occurred to me a rather whimsical idea for a practical joke, and the degree of weakness of Aunt Mary's weak heart. And so I arranged an appointment for her within Harley Street.
Just have a chair, Mr. Ridgway.
Thank you, Domino.
Now, Mr. Ridgway, as you requested, I have gone over your Aunt Mrs. Harter thoroughly.
Yes?
And there is weakness.
How dreadful.
But not terribly serious, Charles, Dr. Manell says.
But my poor dear Aunt Mary.
Dear Charles.
Naturally, you're shocked, Mr. Ridgway, but with the least care, she'll live to be 90, I should think. However, her mind must be kept well distracted.
Mind distracted?
Yes, distraction for the mind and no sudden shocks. That's most important. No sudden shocks.
I see. Well, thank you, Doctor.
Not at all. Out this way, through the waiting room again, eh? Well,
Doctor.
Goodbye, Doctor.
Oh, I say, Ridgway.
Yes?
I minimized your aunt's condition just a bit. Didn't want to alarm her.
Yes, of course.
But what I said about no shocks, no frights, most important, fright might very well carry her off.
I see. Well, thank you, Doctor. The next step was the radio. Aunt Mary must have radio.
Charles, you know I don't care for newfangled things. We've got on quite well without... I don't see why we should have one now.
But Donnell said, Aunt Mary, the mind distracted, well distracted. Those were his very... I'm only thinking of your heart.
I know you are, dear Charles.
That's better, Aunt Mary. That's more like yourself.
You are a comfort to me, Charles.
Thank you, Aunt Mary. Now...
But really,
Now, you really ought to trust my judgment. I'm a bit of an expert on radio, you know. Before the war, I even had a small sender station of my own. Some of the equipment is still in one of my boxes somewhere about. So you see, I know.
But the waves, Charles, the electric waves, they might affect me.
There's no more electricity about it than there is about an electric light. Radio waves, aren't they?
But, Charles, Well, I must...
We'll have it tuned in a minute. Here we are.
What is it?
It's Spanish, auntie. Madrid, propaganda. What do you think of that? Tune in, the whole world. Radio waves converging from all over the world on this little box. From Madrid, Paris, New York, and beyond. Beyond! Who knows how far beyond?
Well, I must say, Charles, you're quite poetic about it.
Am I? Yes, I suppose I am. That was the first inkling I had that my little fun, the acting, and coax Mary along bit by bit. Every evening she'd sit by the radio, listening to the news on the BBC Home Service and the classical music on the third program. Then, one while into the radio while she was still in bed, ran it along under the carpet into the small anteroom of the sitting room where the radio stood, took the hand microphone left over from my amateur sending days and hooked it to the other end of the wire, and everything was ready. That evening, car out of the garage and started off for my red bridge, but I drove only a short way, then parked the hedge and walked back to the house. I let myself in the side door and went into the small room off the where Aunt Mary sat alone listening to the radio. It was the third Beethoven. I opened the door the slightest crack. The moment had come, and I felt my heart beating with strange emotion. I saw in my mind's eye Aunt Mary and the dimly lit sitting room, and I almost felt the feeling as she sat dreamily immersed in the shifting strains of music, microphone, and... Mary, can you hear me, Mary? This is Patrick.
What?
This is Patrick, your husband, from the other side. I am coming for you soon. Ready, Mary?
Patrick.
Will you be ready, Mary?
Patrick!
For Suspense is bringing you James Mason and Pamela Collino's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Say, Hap, I spent Washington's birthday telling my young nephew the story of George Washington. What a great man he was. How he always told the truth.
Well, that was nice of you, Harlow. This younger generation should know about George Washington.
Well, straight, I told him how I always tell the truth about Autolite. Those marvelous, wonderful get-up-and-get batteries with the extra reserve of water. A Camel is practically dehydrated battery. Because an Autolite Stay Full battery needs water a year in normal car use.
But, Harlow, you were telling your nephew about
Always tell the truth, I told him. Like I tell people about the punchy power for peppy performance Stay Full battery because of that ample sample of H2O. Yes, by Cornelius, I told him an Autolite Stay Full battery needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use. That extra liquid reserve means longer life and stronger life. I told him about the fiberglass insulation between months to the life of an Autolite Stay Full battery.
I'm sure the kid learned a lot about George Washington. But wait, here's Suspense.
Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Mason, who will be joined by his wife, Pamela Collino, in a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
After I'd spoken with the voice of Aunt Mary's dead husband, I waited a moment. Then, very cautiously, I looked into the sitting room. Aunt Mary was upright, transfixed. Then a sob bore the radio, which was now innocently transmitting the BBC third pro. I'd bite my lips to keep from laughing. But Aunt Mary about her experience. So I was obliged, the fourth morning after that, at breakfast, casually... Oh, I said...
Yes, Charles?
I was just wondering. Last evening...
Yes, Charles?
Aunt Mary, who's that funny old boy up in the spare room? The picture, that is. You know, the picture over the mantelpiece, the old boy with the beaver and the side whiskers.
Well, really, Charles, your tone is most disrespectful.
Sorry?
It's your Uncle Patrick, Charles. My late husband.
Oh, I say, I'm sorry. I'd no idea. After all, I never did know him, Aunt Mary.
Very well, Charles.
You see, I wondered. It was queer.
What's queer?
No, not really. It's nothing. Nothing that makes any sense, I mean.
I wish you would tell me what it was that made you ask me about the picture.
Well, if you will have it, I fancied I saw him.
Saw him?
The man in the picture, I mean. Looking out of the end window when I was coming up the drive last night.
What?
Yeah. Later on, I happened to drift into their room, and there was the picture up over the mantelpiece, the same man. It's all quite easy to explain, really. I expect subconscious and all that. I must have noticed the picture before without then just fancied the face in the window. Aunt Mary, is something the matter?
Charles, my husband's face. The end window.
Why, yes. Why?
Only that was Patrick's. Your late uncle's dressing room, Charles.
The very absurdity of the story I made poor Aunt Mary believe was fun. The clever roundabout way I played my role. The following Wednesday night, at the playoff, to go and play bridge again. I concealed myself in the room after sitting, took up the microphone, and spoke from the other vocal tones.
Mary, on Friday, I shall come for you. Friday at 9:30. At 9:30. Do not be afraid. There will be ready.
When I came into her bedroom the next morning, Aunt Mary was speaking to Elizabeth in a most businesslike manner.
Now, here you are, Elizabeth. I want you to take this letter I've written.
Yes, ma'am.
I wrote it last evening. If anything should happen Friday...
Yes, ma'am. Friday evening? That's night out.
So it is, and you go right ahead. However, if anything should happen by the time you get back on Saturday, I want this letter delivered to Dr. Mayo.
Yes.
The top left-hand drawer of my bureau. The long key with a white label. Everything in the drawer.
Ready, ma'am?
For my burial.
Oh, Mum, what are you saying? I thought you was in a sight there to help.
Never mind that, Elizabeth. Don't be more. Did I ever tell you how much I've left you in my will?
Oh, no, Mum.
Well, I can't seem to remember. It was £50 in will, but did I raise it to 100? Well, at any rate, I'll have to look into it. But if anything should happen to you, then Mr. Charles will see to it.
Did I hear my name mentioned, dear Aunt Mary?
Oh, good morning, Charles. Yes, I was just saying to Elizabeth, I don't know if I've left her 50 or 100. But if anything should happen to me, it's to be £100.
Well, I must say, that's a gloomy thing to be thinking about.
Oh, Mr. Charles, sir, she's been carrying on awful just now.
What's this?
That's enough, Elizabeth. You may go.
Yes, Mum.
Well, now, just what in the world is all this about? Suppose you tell me just what's going to happen to dear Aunt Mary.
Charles, what do you plan to be doing Friday evening?
Friday? Well, as a matter of fact, the Ewings asked me to go in and play bridge. But I stayed at home.
No, Charles. Actually, I prefer to be alone.
Well, just as you wish.
Have Mr. Hopkinson send me the will. I west to Elizabeth. It's either 50 or £100. The rest, dear Charles, of course, goes to you.
Yes, dear Aunt Mary. Whatever you say. Friday evening, I'd picked that night because I knew it was Elizabeth's night off, and I wanted to be sure there was nothing. At 8 o'clock, I drove away, waited for an hour perhaps, then slipped back into the house. I looked through the crack of the door and saw Aunt Mary sitting in the high-backed chair beside the radio. Listened. The 9 o'clock news ended, and a program of music was about to begin. It was 9:15. 15 minutes till the funeral of the dead Patrick. This time, I did not touch the microphone. I went upstairs, opened a camphor chest of old clothes in the spare room, took it and bent forward intently in front of a mirror. Sharp on the instant of 9:30, bling at the outer door of the house. And the front door slowly opened. And then steps along the short hall to the sitting room where I waited. And then the door opened. The time has come, Mary.
Patrick, I'm ready.
My practical joke had worked to perfection. Aunt Mary's poor old heart-couldn't husband, Patrick, arrive in person to carry her off into the spirit. I stepped over the body, which had fallen dangerously near the burning fire I took the poker and thrust some folds of paper that were lying into the fire to bring up a blaze, and in the blaze burned the false beard, and attached the wire fixed into the radio, and took wire and microphone upstairs. I undressed and replaced Uncle Patrick's out of clothes in the camphor chest in the spare room where I'd found it. Then I dressed again and went off to play bridge at the Ewings. 2 days later.
This is Mrs. Harter's... was Mrs. Harter's residence. Oh, just a moment. It's Mr. Jetson, sir.
All right, I'll take it. You may go, Elizabeth.
Yes, sir.
Anything wrong?
Not yet. I just want it in the Daily Standard, Ridgway.
A pity about poor dear Aunt Mary, don't you think, Mr. Jepson?
And let me remind you, you have 1 week left.
I haven't forgotten. Once the newspapers announce my inheritance of £40,000, difficulty borrowing, and then I'll pay up.
Good. Only remember this, Ridgway. You don't pay up and I send you to your Aunt Mary, understand? Or maybe it wouldn't be quite this place, Ridgway, now that you've got murder on your soul. Understand?
I understand, Mr. Jepson. And then, that evening, the house.
I really did think you'd want to see this.
You say Elizabeth brought it to you?
Yes, she says one of Mrs. Harter's last requests that she do so.
As a matter of fact, I do seem to remember Yes, and I do recall seeing her give Elizabeth some such. You've read the contents?
That's what's queer. Here, suppose you have a look for yourself.
All right. Tonight, Wednesday, at 9:15, I distinctly heard the voice of my dead husband. He would come for me on Friday night. If I should die on that day and at that hour, I should like the fact...
Help, oh, help! Help, oh, help! Oh, lead in. Sweet Desdemona. Oh, sweet mistress, speak. Guiltless death. I die. Oh, who has done this deed?
It was I that killed her. She was false as water.
How is rat that she was false? Oh, she was heavenly true.
Your husband knew it all. Your husband.
That she was false to wedlock?
I was Cassio.
If he say so, he lies to his heart. She was too fond of her most filthy bargain.
Ah?
Help, 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 help! The moon has killed my mistress. Murder, murder!
What is the matter? How now, General?
Oh, you come, Iago. You have done well that men must lay their murders on your neck.
What is the matter?
Disprove this villain if you are a man. He says you told him that his wife was false.
I told him what I thought, and told no more than what he found himself was apt and true.
But did you ever tell him she was false?
I did.
You told a lie. An odious, damned lie. She fought with Cassio?
Iago knows that she was Cassio as the act of shame 1,000 times committed. And she did gratify his amorous works with the recognizance and pledge of love which I first gave her. It was a handkerchief.
Oh, now. Oh, more. The handkerchief you speak on, I found by fortune, and for often with a solemn earnestness, more than indeed belonged to such a trifle, he begged of me to steal it.
Villainous!
She gave it, Cassio. No, alas, I found it, and I did gift my husband.
Filth, you lie! Are there no stones in heaven but what serve for the thunder? Precious villain! Force on him!
I plead, but not kill.
I'd have thee live, for in my sense 'tis happiness to die.
Othello, you must forsake this room and go with us. Your power and your command is taken off. You shall close prison arrest till that the nature of your fault be known to the Venetian state. Come, bring him away.
So, a word or two. I have done the state some service, and they know it. No more of that. I pray you, in your letters, when you shall these unlucky deeds relate, speak of them as they are. Thing extenuate, nor set down aught in malice. Then must you speak of one that loved not wisely, but too well. Of one not easily jealous, but being wrought, perplexed to the extreme. Of one whose hand, like the base Indian, threw a pearl away, richer than all his tribe. I kissed thee ere I killed thee. No way but this, killing myself to die upon a kiss.
Look on the tragic lodging of this bed. This is thy work, Iago. The object poison's sight, let it be hid. Myself will straight aboard, and to the state this heavy act, with heavy heart, relate.
Suspense. Presented by Autolite. Tonight stars Richard Widmark, Kathy Lewis, and Elliot Lewis.
This is Harlow Wilcox speaking for Autolite, world's largest independent manufacturer of automotive electrical equipment. Autolite is proud to serve the greatest names in the industry. They are members of the Autolite family, as well as other 98,000 Autolite distributors and dealers in the United States
and thousands more in Canada and throughout the world. Our family also includes the nearly 30,000 men and women in 28 great Autolite plants from coast to coast, and auto plants in many foreign countries, as well as the 18,000 people who have invested a portion of their savings in Autolite. Every Autolite product is backed by constant research and precision built to the highest standards of quality and performance. So remember, from bumper to tail light, you're always right with Autolite.
Next week, a story based on fact. The true report of a man who lost a jar which contained the destruction of a city. It is called A Vial of Death, and it will star Mr. Lloyd Nolan. That's next week on Suspense. The abridged Othello was adapted for Suspense by Anthony Ellis and Elliot Lewis. The program was transcribed and directed by Mr. Lewis, with music arranged by Lucian Malwick, from themes by Giuseppe Verdi. The orchestra was conducted by Lud Gluskin. Featured in tonight's cast were Joseph Kearns as Cassio, William Conrad as Montano, Celia. Your narrator, Ray Thor.
Richard Widmark may soon be seen in the 20th picture, Hiccup on South Street.
And remember, next week, Mr. Lloyd Nolan in A Vial of Death.
Autolite Stay-Full batteries, Autolite resistor or standard type spark plugs, and Autolite electrical parts at your neighborhood Autolite dealers. Switch to Autolite. Good night.
This is Chesterton Radio, the true, good, and beautiful at chestertonradio.com.
And now, another tale well calculated to keep you in suspense. A Statement of Fact by E. Jack Newman. The most lurid of crimes is the crime of passion. No mere bank robbery or stock swindle can compete for newspaper space with a nice, juicy love nest. Our story concerns itself with the murder which criminologists would classify as a crime of passion. But in fact, it is just the opposite. A crime of no passion, a negative murder, committed because passion has fled and love was dead. A homicide without hope.
It is the findings of this coroner's jury that Robert Ames Dudley met his death at the hand of his wife, Ellen Randall Dudley. In view of the evidence, the jury recommends that said Ellen Randall Dudley be taken into custody and held for action by the grand jury.
Well, Chris, just as you predicted. They couldn't have arrived at any other verdict. Now, all the police have to do is find her.
She'll show up. An international beauty with a face as well known as a movie star's. How far can she get before she's recognized?
Well, a defendant that famous could be the making of the prosecutor who convicted her.
You're reading my mind, John.
But how could you...
Easy. With a little help from a pal.
Well, sure, I'll be glad to help, but what makes you think you can be the next DA? There are other men in the office with lots longer service.
The man that gets to Ellen Randall Dudley first can be the next district attorney. Don't you realize that his name, yes, and his picture, will be linked with her in newspaper stories all over the world?
Oh, sure.
First things first. I'll have a warrant for her arrest issued by our office. And then you and I have got to use every pipeline we have into the police and sheriff's office. I want to know the minute she's picked up.
Chris, I've watched you pull off some pretty fast deals ever since we were in law school.
Fast deals? You hurt my feelings, John. I'm merely doing my duty as a servant of the people. Johnny.
I'm sorry to wake you in the middle of the night.
That's all right. What's up?
I'm down at the sheriff's office. They picked up Ellen Dudley a half an hour ago, out in Allenview. She was hiding in the restroom of an all-night bus station.
Good. I'll be right down.
The sheriff's holding her incommunicado, Chris.
That's bad.
You have to work fast on this one.
Yes, I know. Listen, can you get to the sheriff?
I can try.
Get to him. And tell him the district attorney will hold him personally responsible for the conduct of his office and his officers in this situation. Remind them that the accused is the state's prisoner, not the county's.
Yeah, Chris, but he can still hold her legally for 48 hours.
I know.
And he's coming up for re-election.
I know. You just get the word to him. I'll be there in less than a half hour.
Sorry. No comments. Let me through, please. I'm sorry. At this time.
You didn't waste any time, Chris.
I can't afford to.
The sheriff called him after I told him you were on your way down.
Publicity, huh?
Every little bit helps during election year. You ought to know.
Yeah. Where's Mrs. Dudley?
In there with him.
Where's she been these last 3 days?
I don't know. She isn't talking, at least to me.
Well, she'll talk to me.
Just a minute. The sheriff left orders that he's not to be disturbed. Deputy P.G. Thaler.
Mr. Thaler, I want you to go and stand by that door over there.
Huh?
No one, absolutely no one, is to come through that door until I say so.
I take my orders from Sheriff Morrow. Thaler, I want... Hey, I thought I told you I didn't want anyone around here.
Good morning, Sheriff.
Who are you?
Dale Christian, Deputy District Attorney.
Oh. Yeah, Mr. Bradford here said you were on the way down. Now, we can handle this situation all right, Mr. Christian.
Is Mrs. Dudley in there?
Yeah.
Is she guarded?
No need to
Get in
guard
there,
her.
John. Don't take your eyes off her.
Right. Now, look here.
Now, you look here, Sheriff. You're going to do as I say.
Just a minute there, Bradford. He has no right to go into my office.
He has every right to go in there, and I'll show you why. Here. See this? It's a warrant issued yesterday afternoon for the arrest of Ellen Randall Dudley. When you see that seal and that signature, your authority is automatically superseded.
No one comes in here and tells me how to run my job.
I'm telling you. You're trying to get your name and picture in every newspaper in the country at the expense of this case, and I'll have no more of it. Now, this is no pressman's holiday. You Thaler here and go outside and get rid of those reporters as fast as you can.
I'll take action against you for this, Mr. Christian.
Do that, Sheriff, and see where it'll get you. Good morning, Mrs. Dudley.
Yes?
My name is Christian, Mrs. Dudley. I'm the Deputy District Attorney. All right, John.
What are you going to do?
Just take a few notes, Mrs. Dudley.
What kind of notes?
Mr. Bradford is also from my office. He's here to take notes on what you say to me, Mrs. Dudley.
Oh.
I'm obligated to warn you that whatever you say right now may be used later in the court. You don't have to talk to me unless you want to. You understand that?
Yes.
This won't take long. I'd just like to get your story in your own words.
Pardon me.
Yes?
I don't understand you, Mr. Christian. You just told me that anything I tell you may be used against me in court.
Yes?
Well, then, to be on the safe side, I shouldn't tell you anything.
Mrs. Dudley, listen to me. Now, listen carefully. Yesterday afternoon, I attended a coroner's inquest inquiring into the death of your husband, Robert Ames Dudley.
Yes?
A coroner's jury there determined that Mr. Dudley came to his death as the result of wounds inflicted by you, his wife. A hatchet was presented as evidence. Mr. Thomas Unger of the Police Crime Laboratory positively identified it as the murder weapon. Sergeant Victor Manning also testified, and he explained that several fingerprints on the murder weapon belonged to you. Two witnesses, your maid, Ethel Lee Barth, and a neighbor, Mrs. Frank Thompson, gave testimony that further incriminates you. Enough evidence was presented for the coroner's jury to recommend that you be taken into custody and held for the action of the grand jury. Do you understand what I've just told you?
Yes, I think so.
In a few days, the grand jury will meet and charge you with murdering your husband. There's no doubt that they will make that indictment, Mrs. Dudley. From there, you will be arraigned and later on taken into a court and tried. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Fine. Now, a frank, honest statement on your part before all of these things take place can save a great deal of pain on both sides. Such a statement from you right now may determine the disposition and the proper plea to be entered on your behalf.
What do you mean, Mr. Christian? Proper plea?
You murdered your husband on the night of the 13th. The sooner you admit that, the better off you'll be. You make a full confession, you sign it, you enter a plea of guilty, and I do all I can for you with the court.
Suppose I don't admit anything.
Then you can expect no clemency. And that, of course, is entirely up to you, Mrs. Dudley. But I must tell you that the death house and the state penitentiary is full of people who didn't listen to reason while they still had a chance. This is your chance, Mrs. Dudley, right here and now. Well?
I don't know what to do.
If you don't take my advice, they'll hang you. I promise you, Mrs. Dudley, they'll hang you as certainly as you're sitting in that chair. Well?
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
Suppose you begin at the beginning.
The beginning?
Well, let's say, where did you meet your husband? It seems to me I read someplace that it was in you.
Yes, that's right. In the south. I had a villa on Cap Ferrat that summer.
What summer would that be?
1952.
Meet him through friends, did you?
Yes. At a gala in Monte Carlo. We were married 3 weeks later at the Mairie in Grasse.
Rather a short engagement, wasn't it?
It seemed an eternity at the time. I was fed up with European gentlemen, I suppose. Bored with the kind of men who put all women into two categories. Possible wives or possible mistresses. Roger was only interested in me as a wife. And he was so refreshing. So healthy. So American. You remind me of him a little. You look about the same age. He was 36.
I'm 34. But the marriage didn't work out the way you expected. I understand you and Mr. Dudley have been having trouble for some time.
Oh, yes. For years. I soon found out that although he wanted me as a wife, he wanted every other woman as a mistress.
And he drank?
He drank.
I'm arrested when he came home drunk and threatened you. Isn't that so?
Yes. But he got out of that very easily. They didn't do a thing to him. Roger was awfully good at talking himself out of things. Oh, he had a law degree, too, you know.
So I understand.
Roger never went have to. That was his trouble. His father left him quite a bit of money, and he simply didn't have to do anything at all.
Shall we get on with this, Mrs. Dudley? It's past 5 now.
5? I've been up all night long. This makes 4 nights in a row I've gone without sleep.
As soon as we finish here, you can get some sleep.
I don't feel one bit sleepy. When I first came here, I was dreadfully tired. I thought I could sleep for a week. But now I'm not the least bit tired or sleepy. Isn't that funny?
Now, if you'll just start with the events of that night.
What is today?
Friday.
I'd be playing bridge this afternoon. There's a dog show tomorrow evening I wanted to go to. I won't be able to go anywhere now. Do you feel sorry for me, Mr. Christian?
I beg your pardon?
Do you feel sorry for me?
Makes no difference how I feel, Mrs. Dudley. You're an accused prisoner. My job is to get a statement of fact from you. That's why I'm here.
Oh.
I've explained this once. I'm your friend here. In a courtroom, I'll represent the prosecution, and I'll do everything I can to see to it that you hang. Unless you make a complete confession now. Is that perfectly clear to you, Mrs. Dudley?
Yes. And if you have a record of always getting a conviction, that'll help you when you run for district attorney, won't it?
Mrs. Dudley, my professional career has nothing to do with this. If I weren't here talking to you, someone else from my office would be here. It's a job that has to be done.
But wouldn't it be better for you if you had more of an audience than Mr. Bradford over there? Wouldn't it be much better if you had me in a courtroom with reporters and photographers around?
Mrs. Dudley, do you want to talk to me now?
I don't mean to make you angry, Mr. Christian. But if all you've told me is true, You can hang me right now.
I certainly can.
Yet you're here to get my story. You must be uncertain about something.
I told you I'm trying to help you, Mrs. Dudley. But I warn you, I'm not uncertain about anything where you're concerned. Make no mistake about that. I have a duty to the people of this state to learn the facts of this case and present them before the court. I intend to do that with or without your cooperation. Well?
May I talk to you alone?
You understand why Mr. Bradford is here?
Yes. But I'd like to tell it to you alone. It can't possibly hurt anything to talk to you first, can it?
All right, John. Wait outside. I'll send for you when I need you.
Thank you.
All right, Mrs. Dudley. We're quite alone. What do you want to tell me?
I killed my husband.
Very well. Tell me how it happened.
I was having some people over for dinner that night. I was busy in the kitchen with the maid fixing dinner. When Roger came downstairs, I asked him to do a simple thing. Just a little thing. I asked him to start a fire in the fireplace. It was pretty chilly out, and the fire always made that room look so warm and nice. Have you seen my house?
Yes, Mrs. Dudley. Go on, please.
He took so long down in the basement, getting things ready for the fire, and our guests were arriving at 7:30. So I asked him to come up and make some martinis and let the fire go for the moment. He called me a name.
Why?
I never knew why he did things like that. I went downstairs to ask him why he was so angry, and he called me another name. It wasn't just the name or him being angry. It was all of those things he had done to me before. Arguing, the fighting, the insults. When he started up the stairs, I picked up the hatchet and I hit him with it. He fell down.
Then what did you do?
I ran upstairs, put on my coat, and I left the house.
Where have you been these last 3 days?
I never left Allenview. I had a room at a motel last night. Then I thought I'd better get away. Go east, maybe. But somebody recognized me at the bus station.
Did you ever think about killing your husband before this?
Oh, yes.
Did you know you were going to kill him when you went down to the basement?
No.
Why did you kill him?
He took my life away from me, Mr. Christian.
I don't understand.
He took my life. He stole my life.
I don't understand that, Mrs. Dudley.
When I went down the stairs that night and saw him standing there, I suddenly realized all he had taken from me. Everything that was young and fresh and wanting. And I despised him for it. So I killed him.
But why did you have to kill him? You could have divorced him, left him.
Don't you see what he had taken from me, Mr. Christian? There was nothing left for him to steal from me, or nothing left for me to give to another man. Are you married?
No, Fred, I've been too busy.
Well, then you wouldn't know what a man can take from a woman if... Mr. Christian, someone you'd want to be married to if this terrible thing hadn't happened. Am I someone you'd be proud to have for a wife?
Might be.
That's all a woman needs. To be wanted. Am I old and ugly, unattractive? Am I shallow or flighty? Then look at me, Mr. Christian.
I am.
No. So stand up, please. Look at me. Close.
Yeah.
Would you want to be loved by me?
You're very beautiful, Mrs. Dudley.
Have you any idea what it means to be a beautiful woman, Mr. Christian? To be admired by every man and envied by every woman, and never to be sure why? Oh, how many times have I heard those words, I love you. I met. What was love? My face? My figure? My artificial makeup? My Balenciaga gown? Or me? Maybe you can give me the straight answer, Mr. Christian. I haven't been able to get to the hairdressers recently. I've run out of lipstick. I'm afraid that this suit needs pressing. Would you want to be loved by me, Mr. Christian?
Yes. Yes, I would.
Well, I was nothing to Roger Dudley, nothing. And my love was nothing to him. I was a fixture, a decoration, an animal. And he took all of it. My love and my life. And then he stood at the bottom of the stairs and called me a name.
Mrs. Dudley, listen to me. Now listen to me. No one saw this happen. The maid was upstairs in the kitchen. Mrs. Thompson only heard it from next door. Now listen to me. You can claim that you did it in self-defense.
What?
He came at you and you picked up the hatchet and you hit him with it to protect yourself. You tell it that way when Mr. Bradford comes back in here. There are a dozen good men in the state who'd be glad to represent you in court with a story like that. I'll be opposite them. You can get off. He made you kill him because it was either him or you and you ran after him. In the end, you'll be charged with second-degree murder and at the most you'll get a suspended sentence. Don't you understand what I'm telling you? You can be free.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Christian.
All right, let's have Mr. Bradford.
Right.
Wait a minute.
Hold it.
I can never be free.
What are you talking about?
You haven't understood a thing I've told you, have you, Mr. Christian? He took my life away from me a long time ago. Can't you see, Mr. Christian, I don't have any life to live now?
Mrs. Dudley, you have everything to live for. Look, you're young and beautiful and you want and need all the things that life can give you.
Too late, Mr. Christian.
No, it's not too late. You must listen to me. You're too valuable a person, too desirable, too beautiful to die. You must live.
Why?
For me, for us. You need to be loved and you need me. God help me, I need you. I need you. I need you.
A few minutes ago, you were telling me about your duty to the people of this state, Mr. Christian. Tell me about it now.
All right, send in Mr. Bradford.
I wanted to talk to you alone like this to make sure I was right. You're no better than he was, Mr. Christian. You'd take a woman and do the same thing to her that he did to me. Until you kissed me just then, I wasn't a person to you. I was an animal. A trapped animal. And if I let you help me escape from this trap, I'd just be escaping into a moral life. Oh, you're another Roger Dudley.
Okay, Chris? Chris? Are you ready to make your statement of fact, Mrs. Dudley?
Yes.
All right, John, take it down. From the beginning, Mrs. Dudley, just as it happened.
Suspense. You've been listening to a statement of fact, written for Suspense by E. Jack Newman. Heard in tonight's story were Rita Lloyd as Ellen Dudley, Mason Adams as Christian, Lawson Zerby as John, Hal Burdick as the sheriff, and Jack Arthur as Sailor. Listen again next week when we return with Time on My Hands by Walter Black, another tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Suspense. And the producer of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, the master of mystery and adventure, William N. Robeson.
A supermarket, you will agree, is a rather unlikely place for clandestine love, terror, and murder. But as constant listeners to anything can happen in the curious and macabre imagination of James Poe. As in an ordinary, everyday supermarket story, Never Steal a Butcher's Wife. This truly chilling tale has only one happy aspect. It serves as a vehicle for the after much too long an absence of one of radio's finest actresses, Miss Cathy Lewis. Listen then as Miss Lewis and William Conrad co-star in Never Steal a Butcher's Wife.
And now, Never Steal a Butcher's Wife, co-starring Mr. William Conrad and Miss Cathy Lewis. A tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
It started the first day of the job. I was clerk in the liquor department of this supermarket. I hadn't been in Los Angeles but about a week. My brother, when I'd left New York, had given me this letter to a friend of his, a guy who owned a string of these supermarkets, and this guy had this opening, liquor clerk, and comes following Monday, I'm at work. It's one of those big places with hardly any clerks, you know. You pushed a little cart around and you helped yourself. To get out, you passed the cash register and the girl loaded your stuff and rang up the price. Well, that's where the trouble was. This girl at the check stand. I hadn't noticed her until around noon, and when I happened to look up, there she was, looking at me. Just looking at me. Like she must have been 50 feet away at least, and with customers between us, but it was like we were all alone, the two of us, on a beach somewhere. An empty beach. Just you and me, baby.
Hey.
Just
Hey, you.
and me.
Hey.
What?
What's the matter? Sleep on your feet?
What'd you say?
You're the new guy, huh?
Oh, yeah, I just started this morning.
I'm Nick Arnold. I work the vegetables.
Oh, Harry Carr. Pleased to meet you.
Yeah. You got 2 bottles of cold beer?
Sure. There you are. Only, don't open them here by the counter. You know, law.
I have them out back with my lunch.
Nick.
What?
The, gal over there by the cash register.
Mary?
Yeah, is that her name, Mary?
Yeah. What about her?
Well, that's what I was wondering about her.
Oh. No soap. She's married.
Are you kidding?
See that big guy over there with the knife? Krause, the butcher.
Yeah?
Ask him if I'm kidding.
Well, who's he?
Her husband.
Oh.
See it.
I looked over at the butcher. He was a funny-looking guy, a real creep. Stood there sharpening a tremendous big cleaver, whistling to himself. He wore rimless glasses with thick lenses so that his eyes looked like baseballs. When he saw that I was looking at him, he nodded and went on whistling and stropping. I looked over at her. She was giving me the eye again. We closed at 7. The vegetable guys carted out the old stuff, and the delicatessen man put away his pickles, and I checked the register, counted my slips, made out my entries. And Krause, the butcher, was still there, packing and cleaning, putting stuff in that big refrigerator room back of the counter. But she had left. So I got into my street coat, and I walked out.
Hello?
She was standing looking at a shoe display a couple of doors down from the market.
I said hello. Don't you say hello wherever it is you come from?
Well, sure. Hello.
Taking the bus?
Mm-hmm.
Which way do you go?
Down to Western.
I'm going that way. I'll drive you.
Oh, no. I don't think you better.
What's the matter?
Well, I just wouldn't want to trouble you, that's all.
No trouble.
Well,
Come on. I'm parked right here.
Well, what about Mr. Krause?
He'll be there an hour yet. He takes the bus.
Oh.
Come on. Don't be afraid.
Oh, I'm not afraid. I just don't think
Oh, come on. Get in.
All day long I'm pushing liquor at them, and now they're pushing it back at me.
You're cute, Ed. I mean it. You're cute.
Yeah, well, so are you, baby.
You really think so?
Sure, baby.
Harry, let's get out of here. Go someplace else.
Hey, I gotta work in the morning.
Silly. This is the morning.
It is. Hey, Mac, what's the time?
Almost 1:30.
You really think I'm cute, Harry?
Sure, baby, but it's late. It's real late.
Don't worry, sugar.
Come on, I'll take you home, huh?
I'll take you home.
Of course, I felt lousy the next morning. I'm not much of a drinker, but she looked fresh as a daisy, smiling and joking with the customers. Well, I avoided her all day. I didn't like the setup. I didn't like to think about what must have gone on between her and Cross when she came. When I came out that night, there she was, waiting for me. I tried to get away.
Harry.
But she said she had something for her, and, well, the way she said it, I got in the car again.
He's awful. Really, you don't know?
Yeah, I guess it's tough.
You just wouldn't believe some of the things.
Yeah. Look, Mary.
He's crazy jealous.
Huh? What does he know about me? What did you tell him?
Well, I got in this morning, and there he was. He said, "Where have you been?" I said, "What's it to you, Andy?" I call him Andy. Drives him crazy. He said, "Don't you think you can fool me?" And then he started to cry and talk real crazy.
Look, Mary, maybe we better not see each other again, huh?
Don't be silly. He doesn't know who you are, who it is.
Yeah, but he could find out.
Not unless I told him.
But you wouldn't do that.
Of course not, baby. As long as you're good to me.
Next night, I stayed in the market after work. I did inventory. I counted bottles. I cleaned the refrigerator. I changed the water in the soft drinks cooler. I just kept busy. Across the market, Krauss was moving around, cleaning up. After a while, he took off his apron and he came over. What? Oh, Mr. Krauss.
Give me a bottle of beer.
Well, yeah, sure thing.
All right to drink it here?
Well, sure. We're closed, aren't we?
Yeah.
Here.
You're working late?
Well, you know how it is. Nothing to do evenings?
No?
No, I'm new out here. You know, it takes time to make friends.
Yeah. Listen, do you know my wife?
Your wife?
Yeah, you know her?
Well, isn't she the one who checks the groceries?
Yeah.
Nice-looking lady.
Yeah. Listen, have you noticed anything funny going on there?
Funny?
Somebody's playing around with her, and I want to find out who. Have you noticed anything? I mean, some guy who shoots the breeze with her, something like that?
Well, no. No.
Then will you...
Well, sure. What?
Keep your eyes open.
Yeah, I will, Mr. Krauss. I promise you.
I'll find the guy. I'll find out who he is if it takes a year, and when I do, I'll kill him.
Good night.
Co-starring William Conrad and Kathy Lewis.
Might have had to open a window.
That's true.
So you see it too, do you?
See what?
There's a footprint across that French window. A footprint made in wet clay.
It's like the clay of the cemetery.
So I should go in first, or shall I?
Into that dark room, I will not.
Well, then stay here, please, until I get some lights on.
No, wait. I'll go. Let me take your arm.
All right, be careful now. Yes, I thought... This room is the library. And there are more footprints of somebody or something walking in. They lead... Who's there? Who's there?
It's only me, sir. Mrs. Bloom, the housekeeper.
Then what's the idea of standing in a dark room in the middle of the night with what sounds like...
It's only a music box, sir. I left it behind along with some other things and came back to get them. I've got my own key. I thought I heard a noise in here.
But why aren't there any lights?
The electricity's cut off, sir. It was cut off today.
I see. Templeton is here, or was here. He must have had some kind of light. If I turn this flashlight on the desk, maybe... Be quiet, Miss Carroll.
What is it, sir? I'm as blind as a bat without my glasses.
It's Mr. Templeton. He's lying on the floor beside the desk.
Oh, he isn't...
No, he isn't dead. But his face is the color of putty. I think he's had some kind of stroke. We'd better not take any chances. Mrs. Bloom,
Yes, sir.
get outside to the nearest telephone and call for an ambulance. Tell him it's an emergency case.
You're Mr. Wilmot, aren't you? But what happened to him?
Ask a dead woman.
I beg your pardon.
Never mind. Hurry.
Of course I'll hurry, Mr. Wilmot.
What are we going to do?
Now, let's have a look around. Templeton seems to have been working at his papers by the light of a couple of candles, which somebody's blown out. We'll relight them. There's the desk. There's all the papers scattered round him.
Mr. Wilmot, please. What happened to him?
As he sat there in the dim light of two candles, a ghostly figure appeared at that French window. It wore a long, old-fashioned skirt and a heavy black veil to hide the face. It walked toward Templeton, tracking graveyard clay. It stretched its arms to him like this.
Keep away from me, please.
Templeton couldn't stand it. He collapsed. And now, before the old housekeeper returns, would you care to hear how the whole trick was worked?
Trick? What trick?
Have you heard about the ghost voice that talked on a disconnected telephone?
Oh, yes. He said something about it this morning, but I thought he wasn't himself.
He wasn't, but he heard it. Remember Mrs. Bloom's story about the telephone man?
Yes.
They don't send a man round to yank the whole apparatus off the wall, put it on the desk, and say he'll be back for it next day. This man at the telephone company was an imposter.
The man from the telephone company was an imposter? Oh, look, he's moving his hand. He's trying to open his eyes. Isn't there anything we can do for him?
No, there's nothing we can do till the doctor arrives. In the meantime...
All right. What did this imposter do?
He took away the real phone and said... You don't know what a spirit telephone is?
No, of course not.
It's an old device used by fake mediums. You see a telephone without wires standing on a desk, like that one. You pick up the receiver and talk to the dead. Of course, you never really talk into the phone at all.
But if you don't talk into the phone, then...
Fixed underneath the desk is a tiny microphone with hidden wires leading to another room in the same house. That microphone picks up every word you think you are saying to the phone. Is that clear?
I think so.
Dummy telephone is really a low-power radio receiving set. Somebody in another room can talk back to you after hearing what you say on the wired microphone.
Then, Mr. Templeton...
If Templeton hadn't rung Meadowvale 1212, then rest assured that same number would have rung him.
Well, then the scheme couldn't fail either way.
But, there's one thing in this matter I haven't got quite clear even yet.
And what's that?
Tell me, Miss Carroll, just why did you work this whole trick? Why did you try to scare your father to death?
My father?
Templeton is your father, isn't he?
That might be rather difficult to prove, Mr. Wilmot.
By George, I admire you.
Thanks very much. I'm flattered.
Expressionless as ever. Eyes as hard and cold and blue and as... Well, make your own comparisons. But I knew you were guilty, of course, when I heard your fiancé was a radio technician.
You can leave Frank out of this.
Oh, you have scruples. Have I touched you?
Nothing can touch me. Not since...
Your fiancé installed the ghost mechanism and took it away today. He probably thought it was only a joke.
He did. I swear he did.
And the rest of it was plain enough. Who led Templeton to the wrong gate in the cemetery, past that woman's grave? You did. Who was the only one who could have stolen the key to this house off that key ring he took to the office? You were. You needed that key to come and go as you liked and impersonate the two voices on the phone.
Is there any need to go on with this? He killed her, you know.
You mean Templeton killed your mother?
Oh, not with a knife or a bullet or poison. All he did was break her heart. And that's no offense in law.
Steady now.
Well, I've done what I wanted to do. I've torn his whole rotten life to pieces. And there he is, gasping for breath on the floor. And I'm glad. Oh, God, forgive me. He is my father.
Does he know you're his daughter?
No, of course not. When I went to work for him as a secretary, he hadn't even seen me since I was a child. But I got near him. I worked for years to get near him. No, I wish I hadn't.
Now, dear, you've got to pull yourself together.
Why? Who cares?
The ambulance coming and maybe the police.
What do I care? Tell the police what you like.
My dear girl, you don't think I'll tell them anything. I'm merely an onlooker. An amateur Satan who doesn't believe in ghost voices.
Mary Ellen.
What's that?
Templeton, his eyes are open. He's trying to get up.
Mary Ellen.
It's as though he could see something that we can't
What's
see.
that he's got in his hand?
It's a revolver. He had one at the club.
He's putting it against his chest. I'll stop him.
Look out! Look out!
Oh, he did love her after all. And now he's tried to join her.
Oh, don't let him die.
He's all right, Molly. You grabbed the gun just in time.
If he doesn't die, I'll make it up to him. I swear I'll make it up to him.
I tell you now, he's not going to die. But...
Mary Ellen. Mary Ellen.
What?
Mary Ellen.
But what? But what?
Mary Ellen.
I was just wondering, is there a ghost in this room tonight?
And so closes The Dead Sleep Lightly, starring Walter Hampden, Susan Hayward, and Lee Bowman. Tonight's tale of suspense. This is your narrator, the man in black, who conveys to you Columbia's invitation to spend this half hour in suspense with us again next Tuesday. Miss Hayward appeared through the courtesy of Paramount Pictures, and Mr. Bowman appeared through the courtesy of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Studios. William Spear, the producer, John Dietz, the director, Bernard Herrmann, the composer-conductor, and John Dixon Carr collaborated on tonight's Suspense.
This is the casting system.
Suspense. Autolite and its 96,000 dealers present Miss Marlene Dietrich in Murder 3 Times, a suspense play produced and edited by William Spear. Friends, for snappy starting on zippy, snippy days, there's nothing better than a set of the famous ignition-engineered Autolite spark plugs.
Mr. Wilcox, sounds like a speech.
Speech? This is no speech, Debbie. This is the free flow of fervent feeling for the neat line of ignition-engineered spark plugs made by Autolite. The wide-gap Autolite resistor spark plugs.
Mr. Wilcox, are you trying to say that Autolite resistor spark plugs offer car owners special advantages?
Precisely, my pedantic pretty, because Autolite builds an exclusive 10,000-ohm resistor right into every Autolite resistor spark plug. And this makes practical a wider initial gap setting, the advantages of which have long been recognized by automotive engineers.
I never knew that, Mr. Wilcox. Tell me more.
My girl, Autolite resistor spark plugs give double life under equal conditions as compared to spark plugs without the built-in resistor. Yes, sir, this newest addition to the complete Autolite ignition-engineered spark plug line is the only spark plug that will give you smoother performance on leaner gas mixtures and greater gas savings. So, see your Autolite spark plug dealer tomorrow for a set of the famous ignition-engineered Autolite spark plugs. And remember, whether you choose the regular type or the resistor type, you'll be always right with Autolite. And now strikes 3 times, and the performance of Marlene Dietrich. Autolite hopes once again to keep you in suspense.
And so John L. Lewis and the soft coal mine operators will be getting down to specific cases soon. Exclusive that I promised you earlier in the program. A report so sensational that I am going to devote time to it. I have a copy of a document delivered in person today by one Fredonia Bell. Fredonia Bell was the trusted personal maid of Laura Starling Morton, widely publicized murder trial of 2 years ago.